Why did it act like this? Why has it done these things? What the fuck? Whatever. Anyway, welcome in. Welcome back. Welcome through the kingdom of the ape, the apostate ape. That is me. And this is the channel where you can watch an undereducated hick from Alabama perform an intellectual takedown of the Christian faith, doctrine, and logic for your entertainment, but also, and more importantly, to combat the ridiculous rise of this ridiculous Christian schmationalism that think they have a right to force their religion and indoctrination and injustice onto other people. And we will not have it on our watch. They are openly and publicly calling to bring back institutions like slavery and manifesting destiny and mandated Bible readings. And this is an absolute assault on freedom, and we cannot stand for it. So that's why we're here, to keep our voice in the ears of those who would listen. So that's what we do. We just try to talk to folks, you know what I'm saying? Try to change some minds. It's like the founding father said, reason is the only way to overcome these things. So that's what we're trying to do, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, the best friend of this channel is a one Dr. Joshua Bowen, and we love him. And we learn most of our Bible knowledge and scholarly debate tactics from Dr. Josh. So we support him. And if you would like to support him and also learn from him, then check him out and all his scholarly knowledge and resources at digitalhammurabi.com. You'll like it, I promise. You can only learn good shit from our Holmes, our homie, Dr. Josh. Anyway, also, don't forget, this October in Huntsville, Alabama, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, the Rocket City Reason Conference is going down. And if you can and you're able, you should definitely come, because the absolute biggest names in the deconstruction community is going to be there, and it's going to be awesome, man. Awesome. I'm telling you, you have to come. So get your tickets for that at rocketcityreason.com and come have the best time you ever had, man. It'll be awesome. All right, well, let's see here. We already got, good Lord, we already got several people in the queue here. And I've got till 9:30ish or so today, I guess. Somewhere. All right, so I have no idea who was first here. Let's see. Actually, I think Noah, and then Michael, and then User was next. I'm guessing. Hey, Noah, are you there?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Oh, not too much. Thanks for asking. Are you a Christian?
Yes, I am. And Baptist background, if we want to get real particular about it. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm just whatever. Well, please prove the prompt wrong then.
yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see. Christian is an enemy of freedom and justice. Well, let me ask you, what's your religious background if you have one?
I grew up a Christian. Then in my mid
Okay,
20s, I left the faith after reading the Bible.
heard, heard. So where do you get your notions of freedom and justice from, if it's not
I'm talking
grounded
about
in
American
a higher
ideals.
power?
Yeah, I mean, American ideals didn't come from Christianity. There's no way. Christianity is authoritarian. Like God in the Bible says through law, if someone entices you to other gods, you have to kill them. But in America, we say you can't do that. So it's going against God and Christianity and stuff like that. Individual
Well,
retribution, freedom of religion. Nothing in
I'm
Christianity
curious about
suggests any of that stuff.
I'm curious about the Christianity is 100% pro-slavery claim. What leads you to that conclusion?
The Bible says you can have slaves. Like Christians right now, that's why I started this channel, because Christians are openly and publicly calling to bring back the institution of slavery. Slavery, chattel slavery, owning people as property.
I've heard nothing of this, but what I would say to the claim about Christianity being pro-slavery, I would say that just because something is described in the Bible does not mean that it is prescriptive, right? That just because a practice is
but it's allowed through
normative
law, though.
and
It's mandated through law.
it's actually not
and regulated.
It's no. Yeah, I think it's a little bit too far to say that it is mandated by law. It is certainly regulated by law, which is an anomaly in that time in this region. You'll actually see, if you compare is the Israel codes of conduct for the master-slave relationship. If you compare that to Mesopotamian societies and Egypt, and you really parse out the differences, you will see that the Jewish codes surrounding the master-slave relationship were extensive in all measures compared to anything else.
I disagree. They were far worse. They made laws worse that had been standing for 1,000 years.
That's just not true. If you look at the Egyptian codes of
Near Eastern law codes like from Hammurabi. Hold on a second. Near Eastern law codes like Hammurabi limited all indentured servitude to 3 years. The Hebrew Bible limits it to 6 years, which is twice that long, and only for male Hebrew Israelites. That's it. How in the world is that an improvement?
But there's also the Jubilee period, and there's also specific provisions.
What about the one I just gave you? How's that an improvement?
Well, you're also not acknowledging the fact that there are extensive protections against physical abuse that are not present in any of the other.
It says you can beat slaves as long as they don't die within a 24-hour period.
Where does it say that in the exact codes of the Jewish law?
Exodus 21, verse 20. When a slave owner strikes a male or female slave with a rod, and the slave dies immediately, the owner shall be punished. But if the slave survives a day or two, there is no punishment, for the slave is the owner's property.
Right, and these are talking about foreign prisoners of war and things of that nature.
No, it's not. It's talking about slaves that Hebrews own. This is this is laws that God gave. God wrote these laws for the Israelites with his own fingertip. And in the New Covenant, everybody. So.
Well, I don't want to speak past each other in this, but I think what you also have to recognize is slavery was already a normative practice prior to any sort of regulations around it. This is not unique to the Jewish state, and this actually much more highlights our relationship with labor and the regulations around it than it does anything else. What you see is God institutes labor and human labor, right?
Yeah, forced labor.
Before the fall. Yeah. No. Before the fall, the idea that humans ought to work with their hands is something that God did prior to the fall. Now what we have after the fall, well, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the fact of the matter is that the Bible doesn't condemn the institution of slavery one time, but it does explicitly say you can own slaves. That's just the fact of the matter. It never forbids it. It says you can do it. That's the truth. That's the flat out fact.
Yeah, I just think that we're missing the context here, because
I can read you the
if we're going
context.
to outright no if we're outright going to, claim that slavery was immoral in any form at any time, which I'm willing to cede, we also need to look at the current state of the world and say, are truly any forms of organized labor in a fallen world going to satisfy what we ultimately know is true? That is, that the only just labor conditions are those within the supervision of a just master or overseer.
Okay, well, God
Because
is
you can
definitely not
easily
just. This book isn't
you
about
can
justice.
easily
It's about
critique.
submission.
I think it is. I think it is about justice in some sense. I
There's no
think the
way,
overall
because God
message
punishes
of the
innocent
Bible.
people. He restricts law. He restricts thought. He restricts speech. These are all un-American. That's why I say Christianity is an enemy of freedom and justice. Because if America is about freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, then Christianity and the Bible and God go directly against all this stuff, because it says you cannot do all that. You're supposed to kill people that use free speech to entice you to other gods, according to God.
Well, I don't think the ultimate goal of the biblical story is autonomy, especially not in the way that Americans view it. I think the ultimate message of the scriptures is that you're always going to be in servitude to something,
Yeah, you're
right? And a
enslaved to
transition
God.
from slavery.
Christianity isn't just about owning slaves, it's also about being a slave. Like, it literally says you are enslaved to God. You are a slave to God. You do his will,
Right.
not your will.
Yeah. And I affirm
Yeah.
that. I affirm that because I do believe that he is a just God.
Well, how can you say
Uh,
this is a religion about freedom if it's all about enslavement? You're enslaved to God. Like, this doesn't suggest freedom at all. Slavery is not freedom, man. It can't be.
well, if you put freedom as the ultimate goal, of course you're going to feel that way. The goal of
Freedom is the
Christianity
ultimate
is not
goal.
freedom or autonomy.
I know it's the
Well,
opposite
and
of
what
that. It's about submission and obedience. That's why the government in America pushes this so hard, especially right now. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. We need Jesus. We got to love Jesus, because the Bible says to submit to governing authorities, and rebelling against them is rebelling against God, because God put them there. So it makes perfect sense that motherfuckers like Donald Trump want to preach Jesus, 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 because the closer you are to Jesus, the closer you are to submitting to his power, the governing authorities. And it's
Well,
evil.
I should probably make it clear. I am in no way a Trump supporter, and I do think
Wow,
there have
that's
been
fantastic.
there have been egregious, campaigns and movements of so-called Christian nationalism that I do not affirm in any way, shape, or form. I think we
Yeah,
can
but you
probably
you
find some
have to
common
accept
ground.
as a Christian that came from God, though.
I'm not sure that that follows.
Have you
You're
ever
gonna have
read
to
Romans
explain that to me.
13?
I'm sure I have. I don't know the exact contents of the specific passage.
Well, tell me if this isn't something that a government would want to pass on to its citizens for obedience. Let's read it real quick. It says, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those authorities that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists authority resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers who are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Uh, do you wish to have no fear of the authority? Question mark. Then
Hmm.
do what is good, and you will receive its approval. For it is God's agent for your good. But if you do what is wrong, you should be afraid, for the authority uh, does not bear the sword in vain. It is the agent of God to execute wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore, one must be subject not only because of wrath, but also because of conscience." This is saying you have to submit to governing authorities because God put them there, and if you rebel against Trump, you're rebelling against God. Do you like the sound of that?
No, and I'm not sure that's
Of
an
course you don't.
exact. I don't think that would be the exegesis that I would, exactly promote. Uh, I don't think there's any reason to
So
believe
just so
that.
you would disregard this part of the Bible that says submit to authorities because they'll kill you if you don't, and that's justice.
Well, I think it depends on what uh, our definition of submission is. Does submission mean to simply honor and abide by the laws that are regulating a society? In that
It says
sense, I would say that
it
it
says to
is good.
submit and be subject to governing authorities because they are the
Mhm.
authority of God. God implemented them. The government to you, and according to the
Yes.
Bible, or according to you as a Christian, should be God. Like the government is literally God's authority.
Well, I think I look at stories like the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego story, right? You know, the the moral kind of teaching there is that we ought to honor those people who've been appointed by God for these offices. However, if anything in their campaigns or uh, policy changes would compel me to do something that is against God's will, God's moral will, then submission is not necessary in those cases.
So, submitting to God's will means following his commands, right?
Yes, correct.
All right. So, God commands that if someone uses their free speech to entice you to other gods, you have to throw rocks at them until they die. Have you submitted to that command?
Where does it uh, say that in the scriptures?
Deuteronomy 13.
Yeah, so these are ordinances and laws that are caught up in the more civil aspects of the Mosaic Law. These are things that modern day believers are not required to abide by. And even
So, modern day
Paul speaks.
believers aren't required to follow God's commands?
Well, we have to understand that there are stratifications of the Mosaic Law, right? So there is the moral law, which is specifically the Ten Commandments. There are
Okay, well, hold
there
on.
are
Let's stop there and go with that for a second.
ceremonial.
So, so the Ten Commandments. What's the
Mm,
very first one?
uh,
Thou shalt have no other gods before me,
you
right?
shall have, yes, you shall have no gods before me.
Right. So in America, an American value would be freedom of religion. It says you can have whatever God you want before whatever any God you want. So how would submitting to God in that aspect be an American value instead of going against it?
I'm sorry, I don't know if I followed the question.
In America, you have freedom of religion. The first commandment says, "You shall have no
Right.
other gods before me."
Hmm.
So that can't have come from God, right, to be an American value.
Well, I don't see that that is an imposition. I think that's just a description of an innate freedom that we have in America. That's not something that's not telling me that I have to follow some other God. That's not an encouragement towards dissension from the first commandment given to Moses. So I don't
Sure, but
think that.
I'm saying it's un-American to try to say you have to worship this God. You can have no other gods before me. That's the law of God. The law of the land is you can worship whatever God you want or no God at all. So that's what I'm saying. How can it be a Christian value to have freedom of religion if the Bible only says things like you will have no gods before me and you have to kill anybody that entices you to other gods?
Well, I don't. I'm certainly not someone who claims that that is an outgrowth of Christianity. I wouldn't say
It's in the
that.
Bible. It's what God commands. Jesus said, "Follow the commands of God. If you keep and teach others to do the same, you'll be called the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." So, according to Jesus, the more you do these commands and keep them, the better your chances of getting into heaven.
Right. I guess I'm failing to see where I made the claim that somehow that's anti-American or something.
I don't think you did. I'm just reinforcing this. That's a
Okay, and
that's an
I
enemy
guess I
of freedom,
agree
right?
with you. I don't think so, unless it's being, imposed on people against their free will. That would be
Like in a law.
yeah, if it's mandated by the state that you have to worship a particular god,
Well,
by
it's
the
mandated by
state.
the Bible and by God. That's what this is a law. This is God's law. It's God's command. You don't live in a country where you necessarily have to follow this. Thank fuck for that. But this is God's command and God's law.
Right. I think ultimately, as a believer, I submit myself to the law of God before I submit myself to the law of the land, and I think that's a coherent and consistent narrative in the Bible, where you see people who do go against the authority of the land because they are first citizens of the kingdom and abide by God's law.
So you would consider it bad to follow the law of man over the law of God, right?
If I'm being forced to go against God's law, then yes, I would not abide by any law of the land that would force me to go against the moral law of God.
Okay. Well, God says if someone entices you to other gods, you have to kill them. That's God's law. So why would you go against that
I don't think
for
anyone's
American law?
enticing me. The first thing
God is
is, I would say
enticing
that
you.
I don't see that as a logical progression of your argument.
It's a command of God. This is God's law for what you have to do. It's not an option. God says you have to do this. So if you are going with American law and saying, no, that shit's illegal and they didn't do anything wrong, then if you as a Christian hold the opposite view of that and God's command, then you have to kill anybody that entices you to go to other gods. And if you hear of it in
Again,
another
the
town, you're supposed to destroy the whole town.
no, what we're talking about are two different types of laws in the Mosaic tradition. In the Mosaic tradition, you have the moral laws, you have the ceremonial laws, and you have the civil laws. The civil laws are the ones that regulate certain aspects of criminal justice and things. Those are the types of laws that we are not binded by in Christ.
Okay, so where does the Bible say you got out of keeping certain categories of law?
These are clear distinctions, and you can find these distinctions with
Well, if they're
certain
clear and you can
Jewish
find them, then
commentary.
show me. I would like to see where the Bible, especially in the New Testament, says you only have to keep these laws from now on. All the other laws went away. Because Jesus says the exact opposite of that. So I'm curious to where you're
Well, no,
getting that from.
I think this is a common misconception because what Jesus was doing, one, Jesus was under the Mosaic law during the time
Yeah,
of his
no.
ministry. Now,
He was born under the
enter
law.
Paul, right? Enter Paul, right? Paul
Oh,
has
gosh.
some seemingly very different things to say, and this is why a lot of people would consider the teachings of Paul at odds with Jesus. The problem is that we need to recognize the audience in which both of these two people were writing and teaching. The writings
Who
that
are you supposed to
Paul
listen to,
were
Jesus or
formulating.
Paul? Paul never even met Jesus.
Well,
Why
there
did
was the
Jesus
encounter in
bother to come
Damascus.
give this ministry If Christians were just going to discard it all to listen to Paul instead.
Well, Jesus spoke very differently than Paul, and there's a lot of reasons for that.
I know.
Primarily, the difference is the context, right? So Jesus' ministry was almost exclusively to a Jewish audience. So he spoke a lot about the law, a lot about the kingdom, about repentance, things of that nature, right? Paul speaks about repentance, but Paul's letters and all of his teachings are almost primarily to Gentiles. And if they aren't exclusively to Gentiles,
Yeah, no.
he's
Paul said the law
tackling.
was abolished.
Well, I think there's
Did you
semantic distinctions
did you
that
know
you really
God
have
said He's
to
going to send false
wrestle.
prophets to test you to see if you'll stop keeping the law?
Yes, I do know that. However, you have
Did you
to
stop keeping the
take
law?
these. I would say no. The moral law is what
Oh,
I uphold.
oh, okay. So show me in the Bible where it makes a distinction of the moral laws that you have to follow.
These are clearly established, like all of the laws surrounding the
Well, then
ordinances for
clearly show
temple
us.
building,
Should be easy. Yeah.
sacrificial,
Well, show us the
sacrificial,
laws you're talking about. Where does it
all
say you have to? Where's the laws that you have to follow?
the laws that all Christians are obligated to uphold are the Ten Commandments.
Uh,
What Jesus did was fulfill the ceremonial laws. He was the ultimate sacrifice, right? And all of the ordinance
you know, it don't say
surrounding
in the Ten Commandments
sacrificial.
like not to rape anybody, right?
What's that?
It doesn't say in the Ten Commandments not to rape anybody.
No, not necessarily.
Does that mean as a Christian the
I
rape
don't
laws went
think
away because they're not in the Ten Commandments?
no, but I think those types of things are
So if
implicit.
you're only
And
under, well, if you as a Christian, if you're only under the Ten Commandments, what's to stop you from going and raping anybody? 'Cause there's no law against it.
well, there are
That law went
normative
away.
practices of
That was in the other part of the law.
well, yeah, the seventh commandment, I believe, you shall not commit adultery. This is a all-encompassing
Well,
articulation about the
adultery is
sanctity
sleeping
of
with someone
marriage.
else's wife. That's sleeping with a married person. You can rape somebody that's
No,
not
no,
married.
no. This is no, no. Well, it would have been seen, any sexual act outside of the covenant of marriage at the time would have been a transgression against the sanctity of marriage.
No, I'm just wondering if you're only under the Ten Commandments, there's an awful lot of stuff you can do as a Christian that's not forbidden in the Ten Commandments. So it's just weird that like the rape laws went away and wasn't included in the Ten Commandments. You think they would have threw that in there, like don't rape people? Like,
Well, I think I think it's the last commandment. You shall not covet. How does that
yeah.
not cover instances of rape?
What are you going to covet? Your neighbor's rape?
No, covetousness is
It says don't
the
covet things like your
desire for
neighbor's wife.
something.
Yeah, don't covet your neighbor's slave, right?
Covetousness is something. It describes uh, desiring something, uh, desiring more than you've already been given. This is and this covers
That
the
doesn't cover
ethical
rape, though.
implication for it.
It's a nice
It
try, but it
definitely
doesn't
does.
cover rape. No, it doesn't.
It certainly does. Thou
There's
shalt not
laws
covet.
against
Yes,
rape in the
it
Bible. Like, why did those get discarded for this vague law that says that's included somehow under don't covet?
they, they didn't. And those subsequent rape laws are an outgrowth of the ethical framework of the Ten Commandments.
Okay. So the Ten Commandments still aren't American. They're completely against American values. Pretty much all of them, even coveting. That's the whole point of capitalism is you covet the nice things. Like you
No,
want your neighbor's truck. So you work hard and you get a truck yourself.
no, and I'm a huge fan of critiques of capital markets and all these things. And I think it gets to the point of what we were discussing earlier. No, like with regards to labor conditions, our problem with slavery at its core, aside from the chattel slavery, that all that kind of stuff, at its core, what we're wrestling with is not the material conditions of organized labor. What we're wrestling with is the fact that sin, as a Christian, this is what I believe, that sin is the thing that separates us from the joy of labor.
Sin
Right?
is transgression
All
of the
organized
law,
labor-
according to John.
What's that?
Sin is transgression of the law.
Well, no, sin is
You
sin
can't
is a
sin if there's no law to
rejection.
sin against.
Well, I think you can pull something like that out of context, but it's very clear that sin is not simply a transgression of a articulated law. What is articulated in the Ten Commandments is a eternal moral law and code that was transgressed by Adam and Eve.
Yeah, let's read it. It says, everyone who commits sin is guilty of lawlessness. Sin is lawlessness. You know that he was revealed to take away sins, and in him there is no sin. No one who abides in him sins, and no one who sins has either seen him or known him. Little children, let no one deceive you. Everyone who does what is right is righteous, just as he is righteous. Everyone who commits sin is of the devil, for the devil has been sinning from the beginning. The Son of God was revealed for this purpose, to destroy the works of the devil. Those who have been born in God do not sin, because God's seed abides in them. Sounds pretty straightforward, don't it?
This is the word of our Lord. Thanks be to God.
And it says sin is lawlessness. Sin is breaking the law. And if you do that, you are of the devil.
And to say sin is lawlessness isn't to make a specific reference to the Mosaic law. I think,
Well, what law is it referencing then?
obviously,
Because the Ten Commandments is Mosaic law.
right. I think it is certainly
So
implied
what are we talking
by
about?
the idea of lawlessness. It is certainly implied by the idea of lawlessness that it is a rejection of the Mosaic laws. But what I think it's referring to more generally is the cosmic law, right, which is articulated by the Mosaic law. God, in his very nature, in his goodness and mercy and all these different aspects of God, all other moral laws flow from him, right? So the articulation
Moral
of the
laws
Mosaic
like
law
what?
is
Like
something
give
that
me
already
one of these moral laws you're referring to.
You shall have no other gods before me.
That's Mosaic law. That's the Ten Commandments. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that is a moral law.
What's moral about that?
Well, you have to have some priors about the identity and nature of the God of the Bible to understand how that is good and moral. Just in the
So
same way
how is God saying you can't worship anybody but me, over me, or whatever? Like, how is that moral for humanity? I just can't understand that.
Well, it depends on the meta-ethical framework that you're already working with. My assumption is that there are objective truths, right? And that those objective truths, moral truths, are grounded in God's nature, defined by his holiness, right? If you don't believe that, and you hold
So you're
to
saying God
something
like
else.
can't pass an immoral law, right?
Exactly. Yes, actually.
Oh, okay. So
in my
you think it
framework-
is moral to own people as property and to kill people when they entice you to other gods?
That is not a institution which God ordains or explicitly
It
commands.
absolutely
Even
is.
if
It's a
there's
command
no,
of God, and it's not an option. Again, it says you will purge the evil from among you. You must do it. This is a command. It's the law of Moses. It says you can
these
own
are
other people as
normative
property,
practices.
including children and child sex slaves. And he says to kill people when they entice you to other gods. This is the command of God. This is his law. So unless you think
Just
this
because,
is moral, then you're going to have to recant your last statement.
no, I actually don't think I have to. I think what we're kind of doing here is operating in the hubris of modern morality, because well,
Yeah,
what your
you just
contention
said
with
God
is with
can't pass
slavery.
immoral laws. So how can you say this
True.
isn't immoral if this is a law that God passed?
There is no moral law articulated in the Ten Commandments that says you must own slaves. Correct?
It says don't covet your neighbor's slave. So it certainly doesn't suggest you can't own slaves.
Right, but that's not the question, right?
Okay.
There is no moral law that states followers of Yahweh must own slaves. Correct?
It depends on in war you do. Like if it's slavery in Leviticus, it just says you can acquire them if you want to. God's giving you permission to own a slave if you want to own one.
All right, we're talking about very different things right now. There is no moral law in the Ten Commandments that mandate the ownership of slaves as property.
That's yeah, there's a whole lot that's not covered in the Ten Commandments, like rape. That's why it's pretty ridiculous for Christians to think that most of the law went away except for these 10, when Jesus never says that once. Jesus says not one dot or stroke of a letter will pass from the law until heaven and earth pass away. That means you have to keep all that, including this.
It actually doesn't. It actually doesn't.
It actually does. It
What
says
led
it
you to that
explicitly.
exegesis of those words?
It's Jesus' words himself. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches others to do the same will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches others to do the same will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For truly I tell you, unless your righteousness, which means keeping the law, exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Jesus is saying not one dot will pass from the law. So Christians are saying almost every dot passed from the law except these 10.
Right. Yeah. But uh, in some way, a reading of that passage does not necessitate um, the the
Well, tell me
keeping
how this
of.
suggests only 10 commandments are to be kept when Jesus says not one dot will pass from the law. That's 5 giant books of the Old Testament. The Torah means the law. That's 5 giant books. You can write the 10 commandments on a business card.
Well, yeah. It is widely accepted as in the Christian community that it is clear that believers after the resurrection, specifically non Jewish believers, are not required to uphold the ceremonial and civil laws of the Jewish state. Those are
Okay, well, show me
completely.
where it says that. Show me where Jesus says Gentiles only have to keep these laws.
Well, these conversations are often implied in the articulations of
Well,
Paul when
show
he's
me where they're
reconciling
implied.
the
Show us
Gentiles.
something that's backing up what you're saying because it is not true. It's not in there.
I think there are plenty of times
Well,
in
show us one.
Romans,
Give me a chapter and a verse.
I can't
No, I'm talking about
necessarily
Jesus, not Paul.
articulate
We know
the.
Paul says the law is abolished, and that means all of it, including the 10 Commandments. Paul doesn't say the law is abolished. Oh, except for these 10. It doesn't work like that.
Well, again, you're not taking into account the audience, the time, and place. Right? These
All
are
right, well,
really
show us where
important things to
Jesus says you
understand.
have. Show us anywhere where Jesus implies that you only have to keep certain laws and not
Well,
all of them.
it's not even about the implication. Just because something is not explicitly stated within Scripture doesn't mean
I'm not saying
that we
show me where it
cannot
says that word for
infer.
word. I'm saying show us where Jesus even suggests something like this.
I think even in the Sermon on the Mount, it's clear that his intent in his ministry is to articulate something about the law that is incomplete. That there's something about the law that has not been fully revealed that would be
So
revealed
y'all are
in his
saying God
ultimate.
was just like confused and lying about the law when he gave it.
No, I think there's a
Well, God,
sincere
do you know
position
what
of
God said about the
progressive
law?
revelation. What did he say about
God
the law?
says God says the law is perfect. The law is just, all of it. He says you will keep this entire law, all of them, all my commands, statutes, and decrees, all the days that you live on this earth. You will not add to them or take away from them, and they will be kept forever because they are doing what is good and right in my sight. Right?
Right. So
So
then,
was God
how do you
confused when he
exegete
said
the
that?
Sermon on the Mount?
I'm talking about
No,
God
he
himself.
wasn't.
That's
I don't
what
believe
God
so.
said. So when did
Well,
God
I'm a
become confused and say,
Trinitarian.
well, never mind, this ain't working anymore. We're going to have to narrow it down to 10 laws instead of all the laws that I said were perfect and just.
Well, I accept dispensational theology. I think the idea that God interacts with humanity in different ways in different times is not a uh, articulation of his confusion, or that he has a mind that can be changed, such as he's not a man,
Exactly.
right?
So what happened?
Um,
Because God says to keep the entire law forever. So what changed? Why did he need to revise that?
he didn't need to revise it, but as
Well,
a
he did.
consequence
So,
of
I mean, certainly
him
he felt the need to
desiring.
do it if he did it.
I think the general aspect of God is that he doesn't need to do anything, but that's more of an ontological distinction. I think what we're talking about is, again, I accept dispensational theology and the idea of progressive revelation that is encompassed in a all-inclusive redemptive story that we find from bookend to bookend of the Bible. And I think all of these stories need to be read in that context. That all of these stories are pointing towards one person.
Well, I'm looking for what the mistake was when God said, my laws are perfect, just, the entire law should be kept forever.
Yeah, there is no imperfection in that, and I think what
Okay, so you're
Jesus
telling me
does.
that it was a perfect and just law that God ordered them to kill people that entice them to other gods, right?
I suppose, yeah. I mean, I would affirm that in some sense, although that's
So,
more
so
of
why don't you
a
do it
first
then? If
order
that was
moral
perfectly
judgment.
just, then why don't you do it?
Well, again, because we're freed from aspects of the nation state civil laws
So God
that the
needed to
Jews.
change his perfect and just laws that you agree with are perfect and just.
It was always in God's plan to open up salvation for all nations, and
No,
the
it was
way
God's
that He does
plan that
that,
the
whether
law
or
be
not.
kept forever, all the days that you live on this earth. That was God's plan. But you're now saying that God had to change his plan because something went wrong somewhere.
I'm not saying something went wrong anywhere. I think what you
Then
see in
why
the
did he change
scriptures.
it? Why did somebody have to come die and narrow his perfect just law down to 10 commandments that don't even include many, many, many things?
I just think that's not true. I think the Ten Commandments cover a multiplicity of things, and at the root of all these commandments, um, they inform things like rape
How
isn't
is it
good.
possible
Right?
that 10 commands take the place of 600 something?
Well, the the Ten Commandments inform all of the other civil and ceremonial laws, right?
You know there's no actual civil and ceremonial categories in the law, right? It never
That's
says that
just
once.
simply false. That's just
Okay, well
simply false.
show us where the Bible breaks these down into categories because you're wrong. So show us that.
It's not distinctly articulated in the scriptures. However,
Oh, it's
there are
not. You just said it was though.
clear,
You keep saying
not
clearly,
in
but you
the
can't show us clearly anything that you're saying. So this time I'm actually going to hold you to it. Show us where the law is broken into categories or suggested that it's broken into categories anywhere.
well, it's absolutely implied. I think you even
Where? Show
see
us chapters and
Moses.
verses.
What? Okay, what did Moses come down from Mount Sinai
Chapters and
with?
verses, sir. Chapters and verses. He came down with
What
600
did no
laws
no
that God
what
said were perfect and just, and you have to keep them all.
what was written in stone?
Show us chapter and verse where the law is broken into categories of civil, moral, and such distinctions.
This is a non-starter, and
You're
it's
the
not a
one who
good faith.
said it does that, and you said it is clear that it does that. So show us clearly where it does that.
The traditions surrounding these distinctions were formulated by many different Jewish traditions.
Show us in the Bible.
And they aren't encapsulated in the 66 books of the
Show
Bible.
us.
Right? But
Show us chapter and verse, sir.
this is just an unfair.
It's not fair. It's what you said. I'm holding you to your words. Really, for the first time. I've tried to get you to do it a few times, and I'll let you slide out, but not this time.
This is a.
Can you do it or not?
It just simply is an accepted stratification of the Mosaic
Well,
laws.
show me,
And just because
according to
they aren't,
Scripture, why I should accept it.
I just don't think I
You
can
can't do it, can you?
do that.
I know, because it don't exist. It's an unsubstantiated claim that Christians make, and it's false because the Bible never makes any such distinction, not once. And I know that.
I mean, sure.
But you said it does. You said it's
What do
clear.
you mean?
You said it clearly shows it in the Bible.
Well, it's well, what I mean when it's clearly distinguished in the Bible, that doesn't mean that there's a letterhead over every specific ordinance, right? Like that's you're just not going to find that, and that's not how laws were conveyed in the ancient
I don't
world.
know. I don't know. I know. Well, thank you, Noah. You've been a cool guest, man, but I think we're going to move on and let somebody else have a chance to
All right.
say words, I guess. Yeah, appreciate you coming up, Noah. We talked for quite a
Yeah,
while
man,
there.
how you going?
Peace out. Peace in the Middle East, y'all. All right. Well, there's like 15 people in the queue. Holy crap. Damn. I guess I don't know anybody. We've been talking to the one guy the whole time. All right, so I'll just start at the bottom. Romans 17. Yeah, I brought that up already. Anyway. All right, so who is BP? Maybe. No way all these are still here, but we'll roll through them, see what happens, see what we get. I'm just going from the bottom up. It is the Sabbath day, and we still got like a couple hours we can be on. So hopefully the queue stays full. Let me keep. Let's say Fritz Brown. We might be going in order. It's hard to tell. Sorry, y'all. I'm clicking through the queue here and then giving it a few seconds in case we're getting lag. See, there you go. That's why I give it a minute. Shane, are you there?
Yeah, I was waiting on you, but you were talking to somebody, so I left, so I came back.
That's all right. Are you a Christian?
Yeah, I mean, oh no, I don't have a religion, but I do have a relationship with God. Don't do the religion thing.
Okay.
But
well,
yeah, man.
prove the prompt wrong, please.
Well, I'm gonna prove it wrong. It seems like it's some type of I mean, if you are an American or if you live in our country and you talking like this, you should leave, man. You shouldn't be talking like this. You're letting the enemy just say and do whatever he want, man. And you don't take the enemy serious. That's the problem. So now when we start loading up and we start, acting like the fuck they acting, it's like we got to, now we have the problem. Oh, you're a Christian. Don't be judging us. That's the part I don't like. Don't do that. You're letting the enemy watch this social media and plot shit all against us. Now all of a sudden
wait, what are you talking about? Who's the enemy you're talking about?
You know who the enemy is. Stop acting like you don't know who the enemy is. You know who the enemy is.
I'm talking about Christianity. Are you going to prove the prompt?
Christianity is Christians is not the problem,
a strange
man.
Rant,
nah, Christians are not the problem,
yes,
man.
It is. Yeah,
they're not, man.
That's why I'm here, because they are actively calling to bring back the people that are Christians.
No, that's not true.
You
can't say that, bro. Listen.
Yes, I can.
Listen. No, I'm a black man from America. Hold on, bro. Hold on. Let me prove you there. You said prove it.
This is what I'm saying. You're already trying to shut down my free speech, and you're a Christian. Look at you.
Nah, that's not true, man. Come on, man.
It is true.
You gotta do better than that. Come on, man. Are you serious? You sound like a fucking kid. You're supposed to be a grown man.
The prompt wrong, sir.
All right, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it. Being a black man in this country. No, you said prove your prompt, right? Everything that y'all said about Christianity and Jesus, that was a lie, man. You got people portraying to be Christians and they're not. That's a fact. Jesus spoke about these type of people. So now you're going to try to blend us in with people that pretending to be something that they're not. You can't do that, man. Christians are the best people on the good, real Christians are the best people on the fucking planet, man. That's a fact.
Real Christians have to support slavery and injustices.
Nah, first of all, I'm a black man. First of all, our own people's enslaved us. So stop with the bullshit. Our own peoples did this to us.
The Bible,
white
God
people didn't do nothing. Listen, white people didn't do that to us, man. Come on, man. You're telling false information.
They did it because of the Bible.
No, they did not,
you signed
man.
up
Where
for
do
the
you get this
religion that
information
justified
from, man?
the enslavement. Could we have an actual conversation? I got it from the Bible.
Yeah, but you're not telling the truth. You're not telling the truth. You're telling bullshit.
You want to read it? You want to read it?
I don't need to read it. I know what happened.
You do need to read it because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude.
No, it seems like y'all trying to fix something. It seems like you lied about something and you're trying to fix it.
The Bible says you can own slaves, sir.
No. We're not talking. Look at the time
I'll tell you what. Let's just read
We're talking about the 1600s, man. We're talking about the 1600s. Everybody was a slave.
All right. Yeah, I hear you. So the Bible says, God gives a command in the Bible, and this is what he says. He says, as for the male and female slaves, whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from among the aliens residing with you, and from their families who are with you, who have been born into your land, and they may be your property. That's chattel slavery. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you.
Why are you always bringing up the past,
for them to inherit as property. These may treat as slaves. The past, I'm reading this right now, today.
What? That's not happening today. That's not happening today. That was a very long time ago.
That's because somebody finally said Christians.
Why do you always want to keep people in the past, man? Answer that question.
Look, I'm going to have to drop you if you don't just stop hollering.
Man, on the day of judgment, you better get your shit together, man.
You want to keep people in the past. You need to get your shit together.
I don't keep people in the past. I don't talk about the past.
Yeah, you do. You're a Christian.
People like you talk about shit in the past.
You adhere to a Stone Age religion of desert dwellers and tell me you're not in the past.
So let me ask you a question. So Islam is the right religion?
Bronze Age. No,
I'm asking the question. Is Islam the right religion?
No, I just answered you. I said they're
So
just
you
as bad as
said no. So let me
Christianity.
ask you a question. Since you asking all these ridiculous questions that has no answer to, let me ask you a question. What do you believe?
I believe Christianity is an enemy of freedom and justice.
You sound like an atheist. Are you an
I
atheist?
am an atheist.
Well,
Yes.
there we go. Enjoy the rest of your fucking day. That's it. You're fuck.
All right. Well, that didn't disprove anything, sir. So, yikes. All right, let's go back to the bottom. Oh my gosh, they're so weird, man. They really are. All right, let's see. They're so weird. Oh my god, there are so many people in the queue, y'all. Might be the most I've ever had as far as engagement here. Shit. Oh boy, they're rolling in. Yeah, I mean, it's just complete fucking denial. Why are you trying to keep us in the past? Hey, Gail, are you there?
Oh, hey.
Gail, are you over 18?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Wait.
Are you over 18 though?
Oh, yeah, I'm over 18.
Okay. Are you a Christian?
Oh,
Are
no,
you?
but I do know Christians. And I
Oh,
am
okay.
friends with a lot of Christians, yeah.
I got you. We're just looking to talk to Christians. We're looking for the hot topics here. Good Lord, there's so many people. This is crazy. Hey, Brandon, are you there?
Yeah, man. So I understand your beliefs. I
Well,
practice
well,
Gnosticism.
you're a
I'm
Christian, right?
Gnostic. No, so I practice Gnostic. I follow the Kabbalah mixed in with the Bible because I believe Jesus was a mystic. I don't believe in what most people believe. Actually, I've been shunned by many churches. The thing is
Yeah,
that
well,
Jesus says the
can you just
kingdom of heaven. Go ahead.
yeah,
So
can you
so
just
hold
prove
on.
the prompt wrong?
So the thing is that it says Christians' values are un-American. Christian slavery is 100% pro-Israel or slavery. So
What? What?
it says Christianity is 100% pro-slavery, right? Prove you wrong.
Yeah. You threw Israel in there
So
somewhere.
so hold on a second. We want to go back into history. You gotta let me talk.
Yeah. So, well,
When
you
the
got a
Catholic
second,
when the
but I don't
Catholic
think this is
Church
going in
hold
the
on,
right
hold on.
direction here.
When the Catholic Church they murdered Peter, right? They took rights to Gnosticism, which is
All right, I don't know what we're talking about, dude. You don't have to stay on subject. I got too many people to stick around with battle. Hey, Beard.
Hello.
What's up, man? Are you a Christian?
Yeah, yeah. I
Cool.
just
Go
just a
ahead and prove the
couple
prompt wrong, please.
couple minutes ago, there was some guy yelling at you, going on
Yeah.
angry about just on the slavery thing. So in the Old Testament, which like Deuteronomy and things like that, which I think where were you reading from again? What was the chapter?
It's in all of them. It's in the law code. It's in Exodus, Deuteronomy, and Leviticus.
Yeah, right. So the law books, right? So
Yeah.
what that was referring to was something up until the 1500s. There was a thing called indentured servitude,
Right.
which was that someone who owed money or came under a ruler of some new dynasty, blah 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 blah, this that and the other thing, they could work off their freedom, I guess you could say. But the term slavery, as we know it today, like I own you outright, you're never going to get out of it. That wasn't until like, the 1500s, excluding what happened in Egypt, apparently.
Yeah. So what if I told you that you've got it ass backwards? In the Bible it actually forbids debt slavery and allows chattel slavery. It says you can own people as property, but you can't make an Israelite serve as a debt slave.
Right, but in historical context, right?
That was
The-
way before the 1500s.
Right. So in historical context, like you said, that was for the Israelites, referring to who?
Other Israelites.
Right, right. So the Israelite onto other Israelites. Yeah, so I agree with that 100%. But as far as things that when Christ came here to fulfill and do away with, so for a Christian, like the modern notion of what we understand as slavery, we obviously wouldn't agree with that because the old law,
Because you go against the Bible.
well, in the old law too, it would say basically like if your wife's on her period, you got to burn the whole house down and go bathe in the sea for 3 days. I'm pretty sure nobody's doing that either.
Yeah, because it's silly, right?
It was things that were described
God
under.
passed a bunch of silly laws that Christians don't have to keep.
Well, I mean, I'm not Israelite, and I wasn't around
Really?
back then. No.
So what did God mean when he made this eternal covenant with Israel and then he welcomes foreigners into the covenant? He says anybody who wants to come into this covenant and obey my laws are welcomed in.
Yeah. So that is the promise made to Abraham and his descendants.
But it welcomes foreigners into the covenant, meaning non-Israelites have to keep the law too if they want to get to God. You're a non-Israelite.
Well, that's crossing the lines too a little bit. That
What?
So the question was, is it just for Israelite or non-Israelite? But the promise was given to everybody, even the foreigners. So the concept of anybody who's non-Israelite is what's called a Gentile, right? We'll just say that, Gentile, non-Israeli, non-Jew. The reason we're allowed to be grafted into the promise is the olive tree parable. I don't know if you're aware of that at all. But basically through centuries of the Israelites and the Jews, not doing it right, not following the rituals correctly, the Gentiles were grafted into the promise as well. So
Yeah, that's what God says in the Old Testament when he forms the new covenant. He says if foreigners want to join themselves to the Lord and keep his law, they can. He welcomes everybody.
Right. So again, when Christ came here and conquered it.
That's the graft, though. Jesus didn't have anything to do with it.
Well, the grafting of the olive tree. So yeah, that was obviously way before Jesus. But if we're
the
talking
new covenant was way before Jesus.
Right, but are we talking about a Christian today or a Jewish Israelite back in that time?
I'm talking about what God actually said. God said to keep these laws forever, and they're all good. And he welcomes foreigners into the covenant, meaning everyone is supposed to keep this law forever if they want to be close to God. So for Christians to come along and say the law went away and we don't have to do this is just insane. You're going directly against God's word.
Well, it's just an understanding of what true Christianity is. So true Christianity is the absolution of Judaism. So
I thought true Christianity was following God's word.
Sure, but that's the old law that was conquered.
So when did
and done
God
away
say
with.
the old law is going away with? When he says the law will stand all the days that you live on this earth?
When he died on the cross and said it is finished. Because humans, we will always continue to fail. We can't follow the law perfectly because we're flawed. We always fall away from it. We start worshiping other things, putting other gods above him. So he came here in the flesh to fulfill it in a way that we could never do. And now it's done away with.
So you're saying Jesus said, when I die, the law's going away?
No, he fulfilled it. It didn't go away, but he fulfilled it.
Fulfilled doesn't mean to go
so
away.
now, as a modern Christian in 2026 that isn't Jewish by blood or anything like that, the only thing we're required to do is just believe that the creator of everything came in the flesh and died to fulfill what we could never do.
Even though he never says the law's going away when I die.
Yeah, it's nowhere in scripture that he said that, but it's an
Yeah, I know. In
understanding
fact,
of
Jesus
what.
says the law will stand in its entirety until heaven and earth pass away, is what Jesus says.
What
So,
verse is that?
So it's almost like you're completely disregarding Jesus' words.
What verse and chapter is that?
Matthew chapter 5, verse 18, the Sermon on the Mount.
Right. So was he referring to Deuteronomy or the Mosaic law at that point?
Who's referring to the entire law. He says, not one dot or stroke of a letter will pass from the law. He didn't say
Right.
some laws or a few laws. He says the law. That is the Torah. 5 giant books. That means the law, literally.
Well, the Tanakh is the first 5, actually. The Torah is the whole.
No,
Old
the
Testament.
Tanakh is the entire Hebrew Bible. The Torah is the first 5 books, the Pentateuch.
Yeah, you're probably right. You sound right.
Well, I'm just saying. But either way, Jesus says that Jesus doesn't say the law is going to pass away when I die. He says the law will stand in its entirety until heaven and earth pass away.
Sure.
Is what Jesus
sure.
says.
Sure, but we will never be able to fully follow it. So I think well, you're chasing it back to as a Christian, you're saying Jesus says that slavery is good and we should support it. Is that what you're
As a
kind of
Christian,
saying?
yeah.
Okay, well that might be an interpretation thing. But
here's
for
the
people to
fact
get
of the matter.
angry, people
Well,
shouldn't
here's
be
the
getting
fact of the
angry
matter,
yelling
though.
at you.
The Bible never once condemned slavery, but it does explicitly say you can own slaves. So, I mean,
Sure,
how am I
sure.
supposed to take that?
Well, it's like I said, it's a translation thing. You know, a lot of them, the indentured servitude thing, like I said, has been around forever. You know, way before Christianity.
God forbade indentured servitude and allowed chattel slavery.
Again, historical context. You know, today, obviously, you know,
Does
that's
context actually matter to you?
sure in a lot of cases.
Okay, so when God says, if someone tries to sell themselves to you, you shall not make them serve as a slave, that means contextually that God don't want indentured servitude, right?
Yeah. So, like, if someone comes to you again, historical context in that instance. So that's saying, like, if somebody tries to say, "Hey, can you allow me to be your slave?" You're not supposed to do that. Whereas, keep going.
I'm saying, yeah, he forbids making someone that is impoverished who tries to sell themselves to you a slave. He says, don't do that. I don't like when you make other Hebrews slaves like that, right?
Yeah, you got it in front of you, probably. What does it
Yeah,
say
yeah.
after that?
It says, after that, here, I'll just read it. It says, as for
Yeah,
the
thank
male
you.
and female slaves whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from the aliens residing with you and from their families who are with you, who have been born into your land, and they may be your property. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property. These you may treat as slaves, but as for your fellow Israelites, no one shall rule over the other with harshness. So this is saying you can't make a Hebrew Israelite serve as a debt slave, and if you want slaves, you can go get actual property chattel slaves from the nations around you and from the foreigners residing with you. That's what God says.
Yeah, that is wild, and that's out of what the Deuteronomy specific, or what chapter book?
This is Leviticus 25.
That's Leviticus. Yeah, that is wild, man. So, have you heard any of Dr. Michael Heiser's view on a lot of that, like the supernatural realm stuff and everything?
I don't know what most of his views are now.
So, and it's kind of I'll give you a quick broad stroke of it, is that, so throughout the Old Testament, there's a lot of situations where it's like they're being demanded to go wipe out entire civilization, like down to the babies.
Yeah, they
and
do it too.
it's
And
which
it
is
also
it's
says
terrible.
they did it because God hardened their hearts and made them come against Israel so he could utterly annihilate them.
Right. So on the surface, it's like, oh, they just didn't like Israel. They're against Israel. Kill them. But these Michael
No, no,
Heyer,
no. It's worse than that.
yeah,
God literally mind manipulated them so they would attack Israel so he could utterly annihilate them, every single one of them.
that's a
He
good
violated
discussion.
their free will. Yeah.
Sure, that's a neat angle. But the Michael Heiser thing, like the
Enemy of
supernatural
freedom.
realm that he goes into, is that you've heard of like the Nephilim or the Anunnaki and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So his angle is that a lot of these other civilizations, like example Goliath, came out of a line that was descendant of Nephilim, genetic mutation shit type that. So the excuse, I guess, is what you could say, is that these other countries that they were attacking were descendants of, they were like giant mutated alien demon offspring babies. So it's like, and that's, oh, it's okay they were killing them because they were demon
You're just
babies.
telling me a ridiculous myth of a story now.
Well, it's a theological discussion that's out there.
You
I was just
actually think
curious if you,
giants and demons and aliens were running around out there in ancient Israel, and that's what the Bible's about?
oh, sure. The Book of Enoch goes way into that for sure.
How is it not clear to you that this is a fairy tale? It's a myth.
The whole story, like everything.
Yeah.
So
Are you a grown up?
oh yeah, I'm almost 40. But so in my life, I didn't grow up having stuff just forced into me.
Right,
I
right.
took a lot of Eastern religion classes and isms and went over a lot of the ideologies of the East and kind of looked over. A lot of them have these tangible parts of their faith, stuff you can touch, you can recite certain words, light some incense, and help you feel connected to something. Where
God kills a bunch of
Christianity,
people in number 16 for lighting incense. Thousands of people.
right. So there's a lot of things that kind of are universal across the board. But what I found out is that Christianity, especially in today's age, it takes the most open mind because you can look around and there's seemingly no proof. You'd agree with that, right?
There's not only no proof, there's a whole lot of reasons to disprove
Not
it.
to, right, not to believe. I'd agree with that, and especially in the modern world.
So
It seemed
you've went with a religion that has no reason to believe it and a bunch of reasons not to believe it.
right.
Right.
Which sounds
Doesn't sound
insane.
very intelligent. Yeah, I
It
know.
sounds insane. I get it. But it's kind of like, you're familiar with the Matrix movies, right? It's like once you flip the switch, you see the truth everywhere. If
Once
that
you
makes any
accept
kind of
magic
sense.
and nonsense as reality, you'll believe anything. That's basically the equivalent of that.
Yeah, I like to say, I guess I'm dumb enough just to believe, I guess. It's a
Oh, good
faith
Lord.
thing.
Well, man,
But I don't think
come on back to reality one day, and I mean, I don't even say it to be mean, but grow up a little bit, man. Like, this is clearly just like myths and fairy tales. Like, come on, man. It's crazy. Oh my God, there's still so many people here. Let's see. 86. Don't get me wrong, I like it. Y'all keep it coming. All right. I'm rolling to the next ones. Yeah, I don't think he was disrespectful. I didn't drop you because of that. I just don't think it wasn't going quite in the direction we needed to do there. Not to mention you. That's just never mind. Never mind. Yeah, you wasn't being rude or anything though, man. Nothing like that. Oh, here we go. Don't think this guest is loading in. It wasn't going the way of the topic, that's why. Oh no, whatever your name was. I don't know why you wasn't loading in, but I'll give you a second if you want to request back up if that was on purpose. But there's still a ton of people in the queue, so give you just a second there, man. All right, let's go on the next one. I think Stitch. Oh yeah, that was the dude in the comments that said I was rude and left. Never mind. There's still so many people. All right. Not opinion, you there?
Hey, Apostate, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, man? Are you a Christian?
Hey, so I'm not Christian. I was trying to put it in the comments. I'm going to get out of here. I just wanted to mention Good Luck Cooking, but there is a verse in the Bible that says that if a Hebrew is impoverished enough, if he owes enough to you, that you can own him as an indentured servant for 7 years. So there is,
Oh yeah,
there
that's
is indentured servitude.
yeah, that's Exodus 21. Yeah, I'm aware of it. It's just the only reason I say it like that is because when it comes up, that's usually the first thing they say is that, oh, it wasn't talking about chattel slavery like in the South. It was talking about indentured servitude. So the first thing I usually throw out there is that no, it forbids that in Leviticus. But I'm aware it just contradicts itself in Exodus 2.
Yeah, all good, bro. All right, I'll drop down. I appreciate it.
No problem. Appreciate y'all. All right, let's keep it moving. Oh shit, I didn't see Jay there. Different Jay. Hey Jay, are you there?
Oh, how's it going? Oh, wow. Oh, hello?
What's up, man? Are you a Christian?
So I was born Jewish. My father's Catholic. Does Catholicism fall under Christianity for you?
Sure.
Okay. So for me, I agree and disagree with the statement that Christianity is an enemy of freedom and justice. Christian values are 100%, in my opinion, un-American. And to say that they are pro-slavery, I also agree. But I don't think Christianity is an enemy of freedom and justice for this fact that Christianity does have so many rules, so many laws to protect the fellow man and people in it. And this is coming from a person who was raised Catholic
How
as well.
can you say Christianity is pro-freedom if it's pro-slavery?
Well, that's a good point, and I can't really argue that, but I would say more modern Christianity is pro-freedom than pro-slavery in
Well,
comparison.
there might be Christians that are pro-freedom, but it's not because of Christianity, though.
No, I can say that. I would say then in that case, then it would be a moral argument of more modern Christians today value freedom and non-slavery than actual Christianity, which it demands of.
So would you say Christianity supports freedom if they pass laws, for example, that say all the kids have to read the Bible in school?
No, I saw that, and I actually fundamentally disagree with it because that is actually 100% un-American. But also, Christianity isn't an American religion anyways. It wasn't founded in America.
True.
Christianity as a whole was founded in technically Europe, but we can go even further with this and say it was technically founded by the Italians, which would be the Romans specifically, because it was the Romans' guilt that built.
Well, I think it was
Christianity
made like a
into what?
superpower by Rome, but I don't think it was necessarily founded by Romans.
No, it wasn't founded by Roman. It was because hold on, the fundamental start of every religion, it goes cult, religion, and then what it is today, which is normally a superpower of sorts, right?
Yeah. Occultist superpower is what I'd say.
You can look at all religions that way, between Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism. The only ones I would fundamentally say that wouldn't have cult-like behaviors, that just have subsects that have cult-like tendencies, would be Buddhism and Taoism, and that's about it. But outside of that, Christianity you can't say Christianity is un-American because Christianity was never American to begin with. That's where my flaw, like my
Well, I'm
statement.
saying
of the
Christian
argument.
values are un-American, but I mean, I guess we agree on that.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not disagreeing with anything that you say. I actually have very much agreed with statement for statement, bar for bar, what you put out, because I think you are more or less correct. I think the one dude who was talking about Exodus, like, no, in the Bible, it actively says God hardened Ramses' heart. He needed this to happen. He wanted this to happen. And for someone that is considered all-knowing, omniscient, there's a lot of flaws in the histories of the Bible that just don't make sense. And that's why I feel like when people put so much stock in
Why
a
are you a
fictitious
Christian
book,
again?
I'm not.
I thought you said you were Catholic.
No, I was raised Catholic.
Oh, we're just looking to talking to Christians, man.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, no worries. I thought you said you was a Catholic.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just raised Catholic, so I learned a lot. But I also ended
I
up
get you.
learning, like, because I'm also Israeli. My mother was Jewish, born Israel and everything. So I had to suffer a lot of time in like Jewish schools and stuff like that. And then I suffered more times in synagogues, and I started suffering more time in churches and Christian schools and stuff like that. I was like, Jesus Christ, there's just no end to this. And it's all the same stories.
Gotcha. Yeah, I heard you, man.
Compiled.
We're looking for somebody to prove us wrong over here. Not,
Oh yeah, I'm not trying to prove you wrong. I'm just stating it's a fact.
yeah, I got you. Well, thanks for coming up, man. We're looking to be proven wrong, though, not right. Damn. Yeah, who wasn't wrong there? Oh shit. Man. All right, so. Hey, nobody, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, what's up, man? Are you a Christian?
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
Cool. So go ahead and prove the prompt wrong, please.
Well, I mean, there's okay. So let's start with Christian values, un-American, and Christianity is 100% pro-slavery. Okay, so show me where Christianity is pro-slavery without using Levitical passages.
Exodus, Deuteronomy.
No. What did you not hear what I said? Okay, let me clarify.
You said Leviticus.
Without using the Old Testament, show me where Christianity is pro-slavery.
Okay, Jesus says that slave who knew what his master wanted but did not prepare himself or do what was wanted will receive a severe beating. But the one who did not know and did what deserved a beating will receive a light beating.
Okay, so where does that show? Okay, so the Institute
Jesus
of
talking about beating a slave, and you know what he doesn't say? He doesn't say, by the way, you should not own or beat slaves.
Sure. Yeah, he's repeating the Old Testament passage where it says you're permissible to do this, and found in Leviticus 25. But we're not talking about that. Okay, we're talking about the institution of slavery in general. We're not talking about what Jesus is doing. Okay, or Jesus is saying.
Yeah, Jesus said to keep the law in its entirety, and the law says, which is the Torah, says you can own slaves.
Cool. Now show me in the Torah as well as in the New Testament where there is an actual. Can you name me one slave that the Israelites actually brought into the Israelite camps? And you have 66 books to choose from. So show me one slave and name him. Or
what are you
her.
talking about? That there's a slave in Philemon.
But Philemon is what actually the abolitionists created a doctrine from Philemon.
I don't understand what you're asking for. There's laws that say you can own slaves. Like, why do you want to disregard the laws that explicitly allow slavery?
Because you're
to
ignoring,
say, show me a slave with a name. Like, what are you even talking about?
Well, because I'm proving how ignorant you are of the Bible. Because you're saying Christianity, but you
there's
automatically
laws that
pivot
says
to
you can own slaves, my man. That's not ignorant. It's what it says.
In the Old
Jesus
Testament.
says to follow the law.
In
the law
the
is from
Old
the Old
Testament.
Testament.
Okay, so
I know that.
How many laws are there?
The New Testament doesn't give new sets of laws. You have to go to the Old Testament to get laws.
There are 2 law codes inside of the Old Testament. You're aware of that, correct?
What?
Yes, you have 10 commandments, which is God's own laws, which has nothing to do with slavery. And then you have 603
The Ten
in regard
Commandments do have something to do with slavery.
that has nothing to do with slavery. As a matter of fact,
The
if
word
it's if you look
slave
at it,
is in the Ten Commandments.
show me where it's at inside of the Hebrew
Do
language.
not covet your neighbor's slave.
Do not what? Do
Do
not
not covet your
correct.
neighbor's
Thank you.
slave.
You done defeated your own argument. Do not.
Your
What does
neighbor's
that mean?
slave. It is in the Ten Commandments. Do not
Correct.
covet your neighbor's slave. It means don't desire your neighbor's slave, doesn't it?
Does it say Hebrew neighbor? No, it doesn't. It says neighbor, the
Oh my
meaning
God.
neighboring
Dude,
nations.
I don't know if you're just being intellectually dishonest or you're really this dense, but
No, it's just you're fucking stupid and you can't comprehend the
okay.
argument.
Oh, I know. Typical Christian here is needs to start hollering profanities because they're don't know what's in their damn book. Anyway, let's move on to an actual adult here, hopefully. Flo, are you there? Flo, are you there? Flo too? Yeah. I don't think they requested up on purpose. Oops. So, Paulus, are you there? Paulus? The Lord. What kind of music are you listening to, man? Hey, Michael, are you there? Michael? Vader, are you there? Michael? Oh, that's a weird sound there. Damn. Yeah, I just now seen it a second ago, actually. There were so many people. It's freaking crazy. Hold on. I got you.
You ready for me to
What's up,
defeat you
Jay?
real quick?
Yeah, please.
All right. We're going to go to 2nd Chronicles 6:32.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and we're going to read all the way until 7:1.
Go ahead, read it for us.
You got it. Likewise, when foreigners who are not of your people Israel come from a distant land because of your great name and your mighty hand and your outstretched arm, when they come and pray towards this house, then hear from heaven your dwelling place and do whatever the foreigners ask of you, so that all of the peoples of the earth may know your name and fear you, as do your people Israel, so that they may know that your name has been evoked on this house that I have built. Then we're going to move to 7. When Solomon ended this prayer, fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of the Lord filled the temple. That's him accepting it. Therefore, that's a legally binding contract in both of their eyes.
Amen. Amen.
And that's it. That now
Praise
it's
the Lord.
yeah. Now it's defeated. Now we can move on to a new prompt. That's all you had to do, Christians, is just read the book. That's all you gotta do.
Oh, I
Everything
told
is
you.
in the Old
Hell.
Testament.
Darn. Oh, heaven.
Sherry, I skipped around because it's a lot of unnecessary reading, but I gave you the passage if you want to read it yourself, honey. And I know you
Yeah,
want to
just read
shit
the
talk in the
chapter.
comments because you can't read, but that's not my problem.
Damn. All right.
All right, I'm gonna hop down. It was good to prove you wrong.
Yeah,
There you go. We have a legally binding contract with God because of Solomon. Boom, there we
that's
go.
right. Thank you, Miss Gray.
You're welcome.
Learn.
See ya.
Learn opposition. Learn from her. Learn from her there. Holy crap. All right, let's see. Hey, DT.
Hello, is this thing on?
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, I believe that Christianity is actually the greatest thing ever, as a part of my stance as a neo-libertarian phalangist.
No, thanks. Anyway. yeah. Yeah, I think so. Anywho, holy shit. I've never seen so many people in the queue before in all my life. It's empty right now, but wow. I'm not sure I've ever hit 20 something like you just raided people in the queue. That was crazy. Anyway, the queue is wide open for the first time today. So, if you want to discuss the topic, then please do. Cause, dang. But yeah, I say Christianity is an enemy of freedom and justice. I don't even think I think the Ten Commandments are an enemy of freedom and justice, almost in their entirety. Pretty much all of them. Almost all of them. Arguably, most of them anyway. Especially the first 5. But anyway, and I think Christian values are un-American, and Christianity is 100% pro-slavery as a doctrine. Not to say every Christian is pro-slavery. They're obviously not. But Texas passing laws making Bible reading mandatory. What an utter fucking failure of a religion. A failure of truth and morality when you have to implement the reading of your damn holy book into law so people read that shit. Especially children. Like, we know you're trying to indoctrinate them. Of course that's what you want. Like, what the fuck? That's his power base. But how un-American is that shit? Like, what the fuck, man? There's a separation of church and state here for a fucking reason. And it's explicitly stated by many of the founders. In fact, let's see if I can find one here. Which one is it? Here we go. The purpose of the separation of church and state is to keep forever from these shores the ceaseless strife that have soaked the soil of Europe in blood for centuries. That's right. The founders wanted to keep that shit out of here, man. And for good reason. It's because Christians will try to force their doctrine on the other people in a religiously free country. How hypocritical and evil is that shit? Unless you can prove me wrong, perhaps. Maybe. We just read why a founder said to separate church and state. Y'all can't force people to read the Bible in a free fucking country. That's not how it works in America. It is unconstitutional. It's evil. And it's just Christians forcing evil onto other people and pretending they're helping them. And it is disgusting. Oh, here we go. Let me pull this back.
Dinner at the White House this evening.
Hey, Paulus, are you there?
Along with fuel prices are dipping with Middle East peace
Paulus?
talks.
We're right in the middle of summer now, but we got harvest coming up, and that's when we use the.
Oh, I think he's requesting up on accident. I don't know why how it's getting accepted or whatever, but anyway, whatever. All right. Holy crap! It has been live so far. I mean, a jumping hour and a half. Jumping. Kind of go at least 2 there. Yes, absolutely. Pride Month is almost over, but we still got several days left. And there's still a lot of pride to go around, baby. That's right. All right, the queue is wide open for the first time today. So if you want to discuss the topic, then please come do. It is the Sabbath. You got nothing better to do. You're supposed to be resting, Christians. That's right. Love, freedom. freedom to love. Freedom dictates you can love who you want to love. That is freedom. The Bible dictates you can love who the fuck we tell you to love, is what God says. You can love me. Me. You have to love me. I command you to love me. I command you to love your neighbors. It really is evil. It's evil under the guise of good. It's a poison that people think is the cure. It's a wild thing. Wild thing. Anyway, we'll give it a couple minutes or I'll I don't know, reset or something. I'm not sure. But this is the first time the queue hasn't been absolutely jam-packed today. That's pretty wild. This is the way. Anyway. Oh, never mind. Yeah. Anyway, the queue is wide open for the first time during the live. So if you want to come up and discuss the topic, if you are a Christian, then please come on up and let's talk about it. Let's give it a discussion here, because I think there's a whole bunch of Christians who have lost their stinking mind out there. It really is crazy to think about, though. Texas out here passing laws in 2026. In America, a religiously free country, are passing fucking laws making kids read the Bible. How fucking pathetic is that shit? What an affront to freedom that is. They're crazy, man. They really are. They've lost their fucking minds thinking this shit's cool. That's what they did with slavery, you know. They said, oh, we're helping them. That's what there was a guy on the live yesterday who was arguing that. He's saying, well, they had to enslave them. It was helping them, or otherwise they might have just done. That is the exact same thing that the Confederacy was arguing to keep slaves. They were saying, oh, we're helping them out. We're actually helping these people by enslaving them. You know, it keeps them alive, and then they get to know God. So we're helping them by enslaving them. Like, what a twisted fucking mind it takes to think something like that. And here we are, 2026. Hey, I got a good idea. Let's force them to read the Bible. It will help them. What the fuck? The hypocrisy is just off the fucking charts. Off the fucking charts, man. It really is. Yikes. Anyway, let's do maybe we'll get our food. Hey, Kiki, you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you
Hi. I have a question for you, but before I ask, I want to say first of all, I'm Christian. Secondly, why do you think these things that it says Christianity is the enemy of freedom and justice, Christianity is pro-slavery? Why do you think this? First of all.
I think it's pro-slavery because it's expressly permitted in the Bible. Slavery is not a sin in the eyes of God in the Bible. And I say it's an affront to freedom and justice because they are trying to... There's a state in the United States that literally just made Bible reading mandatory for children in school.
But, see, the mistake that I think that you're making is that you think that the way that a lot of these Christians act, and I do not agree. I hate Trump as much as the next person, but because Trump is not Christian in the way it states in the Bible. So you saying that
you're going against God right now.
So, no. Your problem with Christianity is because of what people are doing as Christians, and I agree. I think it's wrong too.
Yeah, but they're justifying what they're doing with the Bible.
But if we actually read the Bible the same way I've read the Bible, which has made me Christian, it actually forbids a lot of these things that these people do in the Bible itself. So where in the Bible specifically does it say that all these things that these MAGA people are doing is justified? Because in the Bible it says the opposite.
No, it doesn't. You want to read it?
Yes, I've read it. I have one with me. There's no love thy neighbor. There will be no...
Let's turn to the rules of warfare in Deuteronomy chapter 20.
Let me finish. There will be no racism, this racism and hatred that is associated with MAGA and these Christians. So, oh, black people are this, da, da, da. That doesn't exist in the Bible. It's actually the opposite.
I disagree. I think Jesus was racist. He calls a Canaanite woman a dog.
Where? In which verse?
Matthew chapter 15.
Matthew chapter 15 verse. And I'm just reading. You can tell me if I'm wrong. I want to know your opinion. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I want to know why you think that the way you do. Matthew chapter 15.
Verse 21 through 28.
Matthew chapter 15 verse 21. Reading that verse.
You want me to read it?
I'm reading it right now. Let me clean it out before him. It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. Yes, it is, Lord. Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted. And her daughter was healed at that moment. So where does he call her a dog?
She asked him, it says, but she came and knelt before him, saying, Lord, help me. And he answered, It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. He denied helping her.
Yes. And so therefore, when he then, because she had faith, helped her, a dog,
How did she demonstrate her faith?
Please, when Christians have their sense of otherness, as is said in the Bible, you have Gentiles, you have Pharisees, that they are people that don't follow God and don't believe in God, right? But then when they do then show faith, when she then showed her faith,
how did she show it?
By kneeling before him and asking him for help. I don't understand.
No. What did she say? How did she show her faith? What was her submission to him that he then agreed to kill her daughter?
The woman came and knelt before him.
Yeah. And what does she say? She says, yet even the dogs eat crumbs that fall from their master's table, right?
The other thing that I think is a bit wrong, I'm not going to lie, I don't have an answer for that. So I actually don't know. That's a good question. But then I feel like we're kind of taking this slightly out of context because do you know where the New Testament of the Bible has come from? The New Testament of the Bible was written by men. There's a lot of propaganda in the New Testament of the Bible. The Old Testament is the only true text that we can date back. The New Testament only came around during slavery and it was given to slaves.
I'm glad you think so. Well, let's just talk about the Old Testament then.
Yes, please.
Okay, well, now let's look at what MAGA Christians are doing in the world, and let's see if God permits that for Christians. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's look at God's rules of warfare. It says, when you draw near a town to fight against it, offer it terms of peace. If it accepts your terms of peace and surrenders to you, then all the people in it shall serve you as forced labor. So they become your slave if they surrender and accept your peace. And it says, but if it does not accept your terms of peace and makes war against you, then you shall besiege it. And then when the Lord your God gives it into your hand, you shall put all its males to the sword. You may, however, take as your plunder the women, the children, the livestock, and everything else in the town, all its spoil. You may enjoy the spoil of your enemies, which the Lord your God has given you. Thus you shall treat all the towns that are very far from you, which are not towns of these nations here. But as for the towns of these people that the Lord your God has given you as an inheritance, you must not let anything that breathes remain alive. Indeed, you shall annihilate them, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, just as the Lord your God has commanded.
But then I want to know why you think that's literal. Why
This is a command. It's the rules of warfare. Warfare was a literal thing.
Who's at
You know
war?
that, right?
Who's at war?
The Israelites.
I think as a Christian that you need to realize that the Bible is not literal. If any Christian, a lot of these Christians that
So when it says don't rape people, was that metaphorical or literal?
Please let me finish. When
Well,
a lot
hold
of
on.
these
You said
Christians,
something that I think is wrong,
let me-
so I'm
but let me
interrupting for a
finish. Let
moment,
me
and then
land-
you can
let me
continue.
land and
Hold
finish.
on.
Let me
When the
land and
Bible
finish my
says don't
sentence,
rape
please.
people, is that literal?
Please let me land and finish my sentence, right?
All right.
What I'm saying is, a lot of the Christians that act the way they do, and you see them, they're so hating towards other people, and they want immigrants and all of this and all of that, right? A lot of people take the Bible very literally. Now, the only commandments as a child of God is to have faith and to follow the 10 laws of Moses. Slavery is not in the 10 commandments.
Well,
First of
those
all,
aren't literal,
now,
though, are they?
please. So a lot
Yeah,
of
but those
these
aren't
things that
literal.
you're saying to me, no, a lot of these things that you're saying to me, as yes, it was a command from God. Was it a command from God to a person? It wasn't that all of us should be doing that, because all of us are not commanded by God and pure of heart in His way. I think you need to realize that the Bible is not literal for all of us. The Bible is not a literal thing, if that makes
Well,
sense.
what is this? How am I supposed to take a command about war if not literal?
You're supposed to use your brain and common sense.
So God gave a rules of warfare and says this is how you do war. So what common sense am I supposed to use with my brain? Like what? I don't get it.
Which verse are you reading? And I'll explain to you the context of the verse.
It's the rules of warfare in Deuteronomy chapter 20. It says, indeed, you shall annihilate them, the Hittites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, just as the Lord your God commanded. Was that like a metaphorical command? Like, golly, there's like 8 more people in the queue now. What a day. Sabbath is jumping.
Any Christian that will read that and think that they should be fighting against anybody else that has a faith is wrong. I don't understand what you're trying to say to
So
me.
God is wrong?
No, because when it says the Canaanites, these are all people that were in the Bible, as it says in the stories.
Yeah.
The Bible is a book of stories. The Bible is not like, I don't even believe half the things actually happened. It's all.
Well, then why are you a Christian? Because this is horrible. Oh, you teacupped again. If you didn't know, Kiki.
Pardon?
You teacupped again. If you was talking, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I agree with the 10 Commandments. I believe in God, and I believe in the 10 Commandments, and that's it. I live my life using those. Therefore, I would say that I'm Christian.
10 Commandments, huh? Do you think those represent freedom and justice?
Yes.
How?
What do you mean by how?
I mean, how? Like, if you got a commandment that says, thou shalt put no gods before me. Like, how is that freedom?
Because I
You
feel
don't
like.
have the freedom to choose another god.
But then why would you say, I believe that freedom is something that has to be taken with a pinch of salt. I'm trying to think of how to word this correctly, because I feel like you're going to take my words and twist what I say. So let me be careful with how I say this. Freedom.
Yeah, that's just being astute. Yeah.
If you say that freedom is something absolute and all humans should have absolute freedom, is that what you believe?
I just believe people should be free to make the decisions they want to make as long as they're not hurting anybody else.
But then how is praying hurting anybody else? If somebody then chooses to follow
It's not.
God,
I'm talking about Christians trying to
but if
force that
somebody-
prayer into law. So it's the equivalent of
but
Christians
then I want
forcing
to
into
know-
law that everybody has to pray every day at 9 a.m.
But where has that been done?
Texas, this country, America.
In Texas, there's a law that says everybody must go to church, and if you don't, then you're going to jail.
It says they have to read the Bible in schools now. They just passed a law that says mandatory Bible readings.
Yes, and it also says in some schools that you should learn
Not
about
my fucking
one day.
kid. If they tried to
But
tell
it
my
says-
kid
but it
that, I would
says-
say,
but
don't you
one-
dare open that fucking book. You burn it if you want. Is what I would tell them.
However, in the Bible, sorry, not in the Bible. In some schools, you have to learn about sex education. You have to learn about being gay. You have to learn about a lot of different things in school. So what is your
What do you mean
problem
you
with
have to learn
reading the
about being
Bible in
gay? What is
school?
that supposed to mean?
About how sexuality works. I don't know because it wasn't in my class personally, but I want to know why your problem is with the Bible specifically. Do you believe that
Because
it's the
they're
book of
legislating religion in a religiously free country. It is against the law here to do stuff like that. It's not even a constitutional law. A law
it's
can't go against the Constitution here, but they do it anyway. That's what pisses me off. Not to mention it's
yes,
Christian
but do
doctrine
you
and it's
but
just
then
dangerous.
no. I understand what you're saying, and I even kind of agree with what you're saying. But why do you think that the Christianity is not the people that are Christians? There are a lot of horrible, horrible Christians. Even I personally, I don't go to church because I
Well, how am
disagree
I supposed to
a
know
lot
who's a
with what
Christian and who's not?
what I'm saying is, if you are going to come online and talk about Christianity, if you said Christians are an enemy of freedom and justice, and Christians are un-American and pro-slavery, then I would even agree
Yeah.
with you. But how is it Christianity? How is it in the Bible? That's what I'm trying to discern here.
Because it's what they're pulling from it to justify these laws
Yes,
that they're trying to
if somebody,
implement.
okay, so let me just put this out to you, yeah?
Christianity, I'm saying
Please,
Christianity is
please, let me
100% pro-slavery. I know plenty of Christians that are anti-slavery, but Christianity itself is 100% pro-slavery. So
please
you
let
can
me
justify
let me
slavery
put
to
this to you.
Christians with the
Please,
Bible.
please let me put this to you. If somebody takes something and takes parts of it to justify what they do you believe that the problem is the thing that they're using or the person themselves for twisting it in such a way?
They're not twisting it.
How are they not twisting it? If it says your
It
enemy,
says you can own
when
slaves. What it
listen,
does not say is you can't own slaves. That's not twisting scripture. It's 100% contextually in
please,
alignment with scripture.
please listen and finish. Let me finish. What you are saying, right, is that even in the Bible, it's quite a long discussion, and I feel like I don't have the right things in front of me to have this discussion with you right now. But when it says slaves, they're not the same thing that it means here. It's saying to
It
conquer your
is.
enemy. Now, enemies, even in the Bible, are defined as
Same
somebody
thing.
that is of Satan, somebody that does
Nope.
not have the same values that we have, somebody that
Incorrect.
is not pure of heart.
Incorrect.
How am I incorrect?
This is the lawful definition. Chattel, a movable article of property. Chattel slaves, if it is a human, is human article of movable property.
And are we
A human
reading King
being
James
considered
version?
to be property, an enslaved person. That's what chattel
So
slavery
then,
is.
so then, are we reading the King James version?
No.
I'm not defending hatred.
I can read the actual Hebrew.
I'm not defending hatred. I'm saying that by equating by saying that these things are written in the Bible, you're making the Bible to be something that it's not. That's all I'm saying. That
No,
anybody that
I
says
can read it to you right now.
anybody that says that slavery is written in the Bible, even the people that didn't want slavery to end, so then they said no, but it's written in the Bible, it's written in the Bible. Even
It
those
is.
people are wrong.
No, they're not. Here, let's just read it.
They
Let's
then
start
they
in
haven't
Exodus.
read the Bible. And also slaves
They
were
have
sold.
read
I
it.
feel like
Here,
slavery
Exodus,
is very
Exodus chapter
the kind
21,
of
verse
slavery
2. When you buy a male
the
Hebrew
slavery that
slave, he shall serve 6 years. But in the 7th years, he shall go out a free person without debt.
the
And in verse
slavery
7 it
that
says, when a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do.
I have a
Then in
question.
Leviticus 25 it says, as for the male and female slaves whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire male and female slaves. To say this doesn't permit slavery is just wrong on your part, not the Bible's.
And if I'm wrong, you can tell me that. I'm just telling you
You
my
are wrong.
point
I
of
just
view.
read it.
So then I have a question. You know,
Yeah.
when you're talking about slavery and I'm talking about slavery, I assume that we're talking about the Atlantic slave trade. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Chattel
Yeah.
slavery, owning
No,
people as property.
no. So when we're talking about it in real life, we're talking about the Atlantic slave trade. Is that right?
We're talking about owning people as property
No,
permitted by the
no.
Bible and God.
So I'm saying the Atlantic slave trade is pretty much the
Yes.
biggest example of slavery that you have in America. No?
Yep, justified and started by the Pope, the Catholic Church.
Exactly. So please, do you even know how the Atlantic slave trade started?
Yep, the Pope.
No. So the one thing that
Yes.
I can argue with you on, is because I am doing my master's and I'm studying this, and a big part of my work is the Atlantic slave trade. Do you know how it began?
Yeah, the Pope.
So can I tell you how it actually began? And you can Google this. I can give you the proper sources because what I'm saying is true and correct.
Yeah,
Africans,
it came from the
Africans,
Bible. It was
listen,
justified
listen,
with the Bible.
please listen. Africans on the west coast of Africa kidnapped people from other tribes and sold them to the white man. It wasn't that white men came
To
over
white
and
Christians.
tried to take people. They were
To
sold.
white Christians.
And then, yes, they were sold to white. I'm not saying that they weren't. They were sold to white Christians. It was
So why
not.
do you think Christians thought
Slavery
they
has
had the
never
right to
ever.
buy slaves?
Slavery has never been done in the biblical sense. They believe that those people were their
What?
property because they were
You're just
sold to
factually
them.
wrong, madam. This is clearly owning people as property, sanctioned by God in the Bible. And this
As
right here,
because of
this is a quote. Hold
war.
on a second.
Because
This is a quote from Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederacy in the United States. And this is what he gave a public address for. It says, "Let the gentleman go to Revelation, learn the decree of God. Let him go to the Bible. I said that slavery was sanctioned in the Bible, authorized, regulated, and recognized from Genesis to Revelation. Slavery existed then in the earliest stages and among the chosen people of God. And in Revelation, we are told that it shall exist till the end of time shall come. You find it in the Old and New Testaments, in the prophecies, the Psalm, the epistles of Paul, and recognized, sanctioned everywhere." That's Jefferson
that's
Davis,
wrong.
the president of the Confederacy.
And that's wrong. And yes,
It's
you
not
open
wrong.
all of these things.
How's
The
it wrong?
wrong. It's morally
How's he
wrong.
wrong?
It's morally
No,
wrong.
I'm saying how is this wrong?
I
How
just
is this
said it's
wrong that
wrong.
this is
When
in
I
the
said
Bible?
it's wrong, I meant that it's morally wrong. Do we not agree with that?
Okay, well you disagree with God in the Bible then.
No, please, let me
Yeah.
finish. I feel like to take the Bible so literally is wrong in and of itself. The only reason I'm talking to you is because I want to know what your perspective is on this. I want to know. Now, if I'm wrong, you can say that I'm wrong. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm trying to get you to change mine. And so,
Well,
in
reading the Bible to you
the
don't
only
change your
thing
mind
that I would
apparently.
the only thing that I would argue, and you can tell me if you think I'm wrong, is do you think that slavery has ever been done in a biblical sense, as in products of war, the people that go against them and
Yes.
put them as slaves? Has that been done in real life?
Yes.
Kiki, can you tell me what the biblical way of doing slavery is?
No.
Well, you just asked, has slavery ever been done in a biblical way?
Yes. Oh, no. Okay, no, okay. What is it? Deuteronomy chapter 20, as in products of war, you take them as slaves and you own their you move them as chattel slaves or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, are you under the impression that Deuteronomy 20 is the primary place that scholars go to talk about slavery in the Hebrew Bible?
No, I'm saying that's what he said. So can he show me where it's been done in real life?
Okay, well,
That's
hold on.
we read Deuteronomy 20 so I could show you that Christians were justified in doing the war stuff that they're doing.
No, I'm not saying I'm not asking where Christians justified it. I'm saying, do you think that there's been a state of slavery that has happened where people have owned people in the way that is stated in the Bible?
Yeah, so ma'am, if I could for just a second. So you said that you're in a master's program, which leads me to believe that you understand how, responsible research is done. So I want to ask you a question. Have you done any research, responsible research into slavery in the Hebrew Bible?
Slavery in the Hebrew Bible?
Yes.
And what do you mean by that? Like slavery overall, or do you mean like
in the law collections of the Hebrew Bible?
Like where it was done in real life? The only research
in the law collections of the Hebrew Bible.
No, what I'm saying is I only research things that have actually happened. No one knows if Moses
Ma'am,
was a
listen
slave in
very
Egypt. I
carefully to
can't
the
research.
question that I'm asking, and listen, respond to me as a responsible
I
academic.
am responding to
Okay?
you. I'm
Okay, then
saying
pause.
I can't
You can't
Google.
respond to me as a responsible academic. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt here. You can't respond to me as a responsible academic if you don't hear my question. Have you done research into what the law collections in the Hebrew Bible say about the social institution of slavery?
No, I've just read the Bible.
Great. If that is the case, then I think you're being irresponsible by saying things like that there is a type of biblical slavery and that you're fronting as if you know what that is.
However, can I say to you, have you
What?
have you researched the same question you asked me? Have
I've
you
written
done
2
any
books on the topic, so
intellectual?
yes, I have.
You're reading 2 books, but I'm talking about the kind of research
Ma'am,
that you do when you look at books like.
I wrote 2 books on the topic.
Oh, okay. So then,
So
You should
yes.
buy one.
so then you tell me. I'm just asking. Has slavery in the Bible, as in a biblical sense, as it says in the Bible, has that been performed in real life, in the real world? Or has it been used and taken out of context to justify evil that's happened in the real world? What do you
I'm
think?
going to try to answer the question that I think you're trying to ask, okay?
Would you like me to rephrase it?
No, because I don't think you know enough about the topic to ask the question properly.
Hmm.
Okay. So if we're talking about the biblical way, what you're describing is in the law collections, right? I don't think what you mean by that is, can we go to Jeremiah 34 or Nehemiah 5 and see how they did things out of line with the laws in the Hebrew Bible, right? That's
But
not what you mean.
the thing that's confusing me,
Did you understand my question?
kind of, could you rephrase it a little
Okay,
bit?
well, why would you respond if you didn't understand what I
Because
said?
I was just about to ask you to elaborate. If you let me finish, please, let me finish. I want to know why you are, or if, the thing that I want to know, I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. If you think that in the Bible it said that the Atlantic slave trade was correct, do you think the Bible justifies that? If
See,
you read the
this is
Bible, it
why
would
I'm trying to
justify
explain
that.
to you that I don't think you know enough to ask a cogent question
Yeah,
here.
I'm trying to,
Okay, then let
I
me
know.
explain it to you, ma'am.
Hmm.
What you're asking is comparing apples to oranges. Because what you're asking is, do the laws in the Hebrew Bible match what was done, irrespective of the law, in the antebellum South?
Hmm. How is
That's a
that?
malformed comparison.
However, please.
Do you
No.
understand? Sorry. Do you
Yes,
understand why that's
I
not an
understand what you're
academic?
saying.
Okay,
No, I
I can't.
understand what you're saying.
Listen. Then explain it to me. What am I trying to, ma'am? This is frustrating from one academic to another. This is frustrating. So if you understand what I'm saying, can you restate it for me?
What you're saying is that my comparison is incorrect because I'm comparing the laws of what it says in the Bible to something that happened in the South. The Atlantic slave trade is what we're comparing it to.
Correct.
You're just comparing apples to
What
oranges.
would be the appropriate comparison?
Please, what I'm trying to say is that, is it not that on the background of this live, did he not say, when I said, are we referring to the Atlantic slave trade? And he said, yes. Is that not him also comparing apples to oranges? By saying
No,
that Christians, no,
it is
so then,
absolutely not. And here's
so then,
why.
would you
Okay,
agree
well,
with
you
me?
asked me a
Please,
question. Do you
let me
want me to
finish.
answer it or
So
no?
then would you agree? Would you agree with me that to say that for these people as Christians to justify the Atlantic slave trade using the Bible is incorrect because it's equating
No,
apples to oranges?
no. It was perfectly in keeping with the law collections of the Hebrew Bible.
So how is it comparing apples to oranges for me to compare them?
Because they're saying the laws that we are putting in place in the antebellum South are in keeping with the laws in the Hebrew Bible.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. But
You're
when you're talking
you're
about slavery,
educated.
I
Listen,
don't
you're
get what
getting
you're
a
saying.
master's. No, stop. You're getting a master's degree in slavery in the antebellum South. So you
No,
recognize
wait,
things.
wait. I didn't say that.
Oh, sorry. I must have misunderstood what you said.
Yeah. I'm doing a degree in the economics of slavery. That's why the thing that I've researched most and that I can discuss the most is how slavery began as an economic trade and how it began
I
and how
see.
it created because it was an economic development. So I want to
Okay.
know how you then relate that to religion. That's why for me it doesn't relate to religion because
Okay. Well, let me
I'm
try to
not.
situate it then. Let me
Mhm,
try to situate it then. Okay. Now I understand what you're saying. I appreciate
mhm,
that clarification. So what we are the problem that comes out so often in these spaces and in unfortunately some pretty major sects of evangelicalism today is that people make this false comparison between the laws in the Hebrew Bible and what the atrocities that were done on the ground, irrespective of whatever laws were in place in the antebellum South.
mhm.
So if you go back and look at the laws in the antebellum South, which you may have done, you'll see things like you're not allowed as a slave owner to beat your slave beyond moderate correction.
Mhm.
Is that surprising to most people? Yeah, like that's like what? Because that's not what people think. Rightfully so,
Mhm.
justifiably so, because I don't think we should be focusing on what, laws were in place as if that were something really meaningful, right? We should be looking more about the practical outcome and what actually took place in spite of, or maybe even because of the way that those laws were implemented. I mean, those laws were put in place. But the point is that when people come to the laws in the Hebrew Bible and they say, yeah, but it's not, all of the atrocities that we see that took place in the antebellum South, then what ends up happening is you say, well, if it's not that horrific, then, maybe it's not so bad. And this is what apologetics does. Apologetics goes, yeah, but I mean, yeah, okay. So they owned him as property, but they had to feed them and they had to clothe them and they had to give them a place to stay. And look, what else were they going to do? Like when a person starts making justifications for owning another human as property,
Mhm. But then the thing is,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm not justifying it. I'm saying slavery was abhorrent. I believe that MAGA, Trump, all these things that Trump is perpetrating, even having a law of you have to read the Bible at 9 a.m. in schools and using Christianity to justify the kind of division and hatred that they're causing in the world. I'm saying that's even a misinterpretation of the Bible itself. I'm not saying
No,
it's
Jesus
okay
says,
because
I
they're
came to
Christian.
bring a
I'm
sword. I
not
came to
trying to
set brother
justify
against
it.
father. He literally came to divide people.
I'm not trying to justify it. I'm saying that that is not what it tells us to do in the Bible. That's
Okay,
the
well, let me
Kind of is.
let me see if I can say. Let's just stick with slavery for a second because I think we can be pretty precise here.
Mhm.
Let me just say, in Exodus 21, Deuteronomy 15, and Leviticus 25, right? Those are the three main places in the law collections that slave laws appear. And in each of those, particularly as you get later chronologically and end up in Leviticus 25, that there are two primary types of slavery that are sanctioned / endorsed in these law collections. The first is debt slavery, where a person is owned as property temporarily for up to 6 years, and then they have to be released in the seventh. Now that can convert into proper chattel slavery, but that's one type of slavery. The other is just proper chattel slavery, where individuals are owned as property. They can be passed on as inheritance. They can be sold. They can be traded. They can be bought. That they're movable property. These are the two types of slavery that are endorsed in these law collections. So I think if we have to begin there, right?
But I would argue that we should begin from a point before that. Because like I said, that's why it's so important how slavery began. Because I feel like a lot of people, I don't know if you, I feel like you probably will know more than this, but a lot of people believe that people from America came to the west coast of Africa and just kidnapped loads of people and then put them on boats and brought them back as slaves and just took them as slaves. That is not how it went. And that's the one thing that I can confirm. I can even give you sources. It did not begin like that. It began in Africa. There's a lot of tribes. We all know this. The tribes would have their little battles and they would argue with other tribes and they would take them as, I want to say slaves, but it was more like servants. You know, when they conquer another tribe in that hunter-gatherer stage, and they would take them as servants, they would bring them into their tribe. Now, the way that slavery started,
I'm so Kiki. I'm so sorry, and I know that you've done work in this, and I think in another context, this discussion would be relevant. But I just don't think it is.
So then, no. I'm so sorry, but please let me land with what I'm saying. Please just let me finish. I'll make it quick. Slavery initially was these Americans, they came to Africa, right? And then they came and it was an exchange. So they said, some of the Africans said, we'll sell you these people that we kidnapped from another tribe. And they sold them for molasses, rum, and gunpowder. That's a fact. You can Google that. There's evidence to show that. So the Americans were bringing over molasses, rum, and gunpowder. And then the Africans in exchange were giving other Africans that they kidnapped from tribes over. And it was a slave exchange. So I feel like it would be, what you're saying would be more justified if it was white people coming over and kidnapping loads of them and trying to colonize, but it wasn't that. That's why Nigeria and those places, they didn't get colonized at that time, because it wasn't like when they colonized the Americas and they would just wipe them all out and it was a genocide. It was an exchange, right? So then I want to know how then you bring that into a biblical sense, because it was an exchange. They were going over there and buying them as if they were assets.
What the Bible says.
Okay, so let me.
You can buy slaves.
That's why I don't think this is relevant, because that's exactly what the text says.
But you're saying that when we talk about slavery in the Bible, it normally says with war, as in Deuteronomy chapter.
No, definitely not. That's one way. That's one way that people were enslaved as war plunder. That's true, but that's certainly not the primary way. And irrespective of which one was more common, right? The law says, if you read Leviticus 25, 44 to 46, for example, it says, as for your male and female slaves whom you may have, you may purchase them from the nations that are around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also purchase some from among the tenant farmers that are living in the land with you, and from their children that have been born in your land. They will become your property. And sorry, I'm doing this from memory, so if I miss a couple words, I apologize. They will become your property. You can pass them on as inheritance to your children after you. You may make them serve as slaves for life, but you must not rule over your fellow Israelites with violence.
I guess I would astutely, if you're teacupped, if you didn't know it, by the way, Kiki, but I would fire back and say they were being directly biblical, because they were doing exactly what the Bible and God instructed them to do. It said, if you want slaves, go to the nations around you and you may acquire them, buy them, purchase them, which is exactly what they were doing.
I'd agree. I just want to know. That's all I'm asking. I just want to know. I feel like, yes, but the reason why in my mind, before now, I never equated it is because it wasn't war. It wasn't they came over and they colonized and they were kidnapping. It was a trade. So it doesn't kind of ring the same in my head. That's why I don't think Christianity necessarily justifies it. Like the Bible itself justifies it, because there was no war. There was no...
Well, and I appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate you sort of like pausing on this and sort of mulling it over. Let me give you another thing to consider here. So when you look at Exodus 21, 2-6. It's describing a situation in which an Israelite, a fellow Hebrew,
I would say
goes
that.
in.
Sorry. Can I interrupt? This is a bit off the topic, but I'm reading the comments as well. I only just read them. Firstly, I would say that colonialization, that is mentioned in the Bible. When I say that I'm Christian, I'm not like full, like outright Christian. I believe in God. I follow God, and I believe that all the Bible is just stories. It's something that was written by a person. These things, if you take them literally, I don't believe that Jesus was a real man that existed and really, really turned water into. No, I believe that the Bible is something that is metaphorical. So I feel like people are taking me to a lot further right than I actually am. And secondly, I feel like colonialism, I'd say that can be justified by the Bible. To take over another land, yes, that can be justified by the Bible. But I just want to know what your problem is specifically with the Bible. I believe that a lot of Christians are very, very horrible people. Even I was against Christianity for a long time. But when I read the Bible, it gave me a different perspective, because it's like, how are people getting from A to B? Do you know what I mean? How are they getting from A, which is the Bible, to B, which is this like separation and hatred? And I don't understand how you've made that bridge, because I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say one thing, and Jesse, I'll drop down. Thank you for having me up. But I think, looking at this from the slavery perspective, a really good thing to read, and I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but here we are, is Thomas Cobb's, I think it's 1856, treatise on the laws in the South concerning slavery. And what he does as an attorney, he sits down and he makes a 500-page treatise on all the different laws that are in place in the South. And step by step, he goes through and says, here's how they're either in line with or based on the biblical texts. And I will say, I'll shut up. I'll shut up. I promise. But it's important to finish with this. And I will say, as an ancient Near Eastern scholar, his exegesis in most cases is correct.
But the only question that I have, I feel like, yes, these are things we can debate, but it's too far to say that the Atlantic slave trade and these things that Trump is putting into place now is all written in the Bible and all justified in the Bible. I feel like that is much too far to say. Because if
No, I
you
think we
are,
can
if you
justify it
read,
all
if
easily
you
with
read,
scripture.
if you read the Bible as in you read all scriptures, and then where it says love thy neighbor and we're all children of God, then you would never justify it like that. I just don't think that the Bible is the right place to direct your anger. I feel like maybe Christians, in the way that they twist the Bible, yes, but the
The
Bible
problem is they're
itself,
not actually twisting it. The Bible is 100% pro-slavery.
the Bible is not. Bro, how? I just don't understand how you would say that the Atlantic slave trade
It's completely
something that
biblical.
is
Yes,
justified by it's biblical.
it is.
How?
They did exactly what the Bible instructs you to do in regards to purchasing slaves. You acquire them from the nations around you, from the heathens that are around you. You may purchase slaves, and they may be your property for life. It says these you may treat as slaves. But as for your fellow Israelites, no one shall rule over the other with harshness. So they were doing exactly what God told them to do. They were going and acquiring slaves from the nations around them.
But
You want to read it?
I feel like you are taking these things very, very literally. I wouldn't
It is
say
literal.
that.
That's what God literally says to do.
Okay. I feel like I need to line up my scriptures and then come back, because I've come into this very unbacked. If I had my Bible in front of me, it would be easier to go back and forth. But I want to know, how do you think Christianity is an enemy of justice? How would you
Because
say it?
God himself is unjust and Christianity is unjust. The Ten
How,
Commandments are
and
unjust
how do you believe
from
that
an
the Ten
American's
Commandments are
perspective.
unjust?
Huh? I didn't hear you.
How would you say that the Ten Commandments are unjust?
The law's in them.
What
They restrict
which
speech.
rules in them do you think are unjust? Is it thou shalt not murder? Do you think we should have the freedom to murder?
No.
Exactly. So I want to know, like, which specifically would you
Okay.
say are unjust?
The first 5 specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 5 of them, 5 out of 10, right? Now, how about killing people for adultery? I'm not down with that. I think that's unjust because the punishment don't match the crime. Oops, I was trying to get back on pull them up in order here. All right. Yeah, let's just go down the line here. You shall not make idols. From American perspective, I can
It
worship
says
any
that you
god
shall
and make any
not
god I
commit
want. So that's not
adultery.
just.
It does say you shouldn't commit adultery, but where does it say that you should die if you do?
That's what the law is. It says if you commit adultery, you should be stoned to death.
I would also argue, before we even get into the words of that, have you read the Bible and everything else that it says about adultery?
Yeah.
And so then you would agree with me that in the New Testament it says that Jesus said that adultery was too harsh of a judgment. I mean, to die over adultery is too harsh of a judgment. That was when he allowed divorce and things like this.
No, he didn't say that. He says if you divorce a woman, you cause her to commit adultery.
He didn't say that.
Yes, he did.
I'll find. Give me 1 second. I'll find the verse.
Concerning adultery, you have heard it said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman will... Oh, wait, we're talking about divorce. This is the next one. It says, it was also said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife, except on the grounds of sexual immorality, causes her to commit adultery. And whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. That's Jesus' words. So, yeah. Jesus sucks.
Sorry, I was reading the verses. It doesn't say anything about being stoned to death. It does say it's a sin, and it is a very big sin, but it doesn't say you should be stoned to death.
That's, show me, what is the penalty in the Bible? Where does it say the penalty for adultery is?
Hell, in the Ten Commandments, there's no penalty for adultery. It just says thou shalt not
I
commit.
know, that's why you have to go other places to actually get the penalty for it. Because if you just have a commandment that says don't commit adultery, it's meaningless. There has to be some sort of punishment
But
for
you
it, right?
said no. I'm sorry. You said that the Ten Commandments are unjust. I thought we were only talking
I
about.
know, and it is unjust to unalive somebody for adultery, is what I said about adultery.
I also feel like I feel like
Not to mention, you shall serve no other gods. Here we have religious freedom. It is not justified, and it is an assault on freedom to tell somebody that they have to worship a certain god. You shall not make idols. I can make all the idols I want. That's just my freedom, and taking my freedom away is not justified. You shall not take the Lord's name in vain. This is America. We can say whatever we want here. It's free speech.
But
So I can't take the Lord's name
know.
in vain, and telling me I can't is not justified. It's an affront
But
against
then,
freedom.
but
Keep the
then,
Sabbath day holy. If I want to work on a Saturday, I'm going to go work on a Saturday, whether this God thinks it's okay or not. And
but
God
no,
kills
no, no.
people for picking up
I'm
sticks.
saying justice, and I feel like you. I don't know if you agree with me when I said this, but absolute freedom is not something that we should have. Yes, the Bible is a book of rules. That's what comes with religion. That's just what
Yeah,
comes
but
with
it's
religion. They give you
anti-freedom. It's
law.
against
They give you
freedom.
laws.
This says to kill other people
Yes, but
if they
then if
entice
there
you
was
to other
no, but
gods.
you're then arguing that the Bible is wrong because
It
it
is.
doesn't allow absolute freedom.
It doesn't. It's an affront to freedom. That's my whole point here. It's the enemy of freedom and justice. The Bible does not give a shit about freedom or justice. It gives a shit about being a slave to this God. That's all it is.
I'm just trying to understand. why
Right.
you think where you've gone from this is what it says to this is morally wrong. Because you're arguing that absolute freedom is morally right.
Do
So
you
are you
think
saying
slavery
all
is
of the
moral?
No, of course it's morally wrong. I'm not talking about slavery. We're
Okay,
talking
well,
about
that's
the
what
Ten
I'm saying.
Commandments. We're talking about the Ten
That's what I'm
Commandments.
talking about. It is not moral to tell me what God I have to worship. It is not moral to tell me that I can't make an idol if I want to make an idol. It is not moral to tell me that I can't take the Lord's name in vain if
But
I don't want to take it in
The
vain.
Bible is something that you only read if you're Christian. The Bible is not how everyone should live. It's if you are Christian, these are the laws that you must follow. How do you think that that is immoral?
That's what I'm talking about. It's immoral to take away somebody's freedom. If I came to your country and took it over
then
by
do you
force
think
and
that
said,
the
you have to
idea
worship my God and I command you to love me, how the fuck is that moral?
So then do you then believe that having a legal system is immoral?
No. Sometimes
No, I'm
legal
just asking,
systems
do you
can
believe
be
that having
immoral,
laws
yes.
like,
For
somebody
example,
can't
I think Texas passing a law that says children have to read the Bible in school is very immoral. In fact, I would
So
say
then-
evil.
So then all I'm asking is where do you draw the line? Because you're saying that these laws are immoral because they say that you should only, bow to one God and you see it as slavery to God, right?
Yeah.
That's what you said. You see that as immoral. So then why do you think that having a justice system in place is moral
Yeah,
as well as you agree with the law?
because they're commands. These aren't just laws, they're commands. God is commanding you to do these
Yes,
things.
because if you are Christian, then they're the commands that you follow. There's no law that says
Commands.
that everybody has to be Christian. But if you decide that you want to be Christian, then they're the laws you have to live with. The same way if you move to a country, you have to abide by
Yeah,
the legal system
exactly.
of that country.
That's
So
why
what's
people
wrong with
imagine that they
But I
have
want
some
to know
kind of
why you
divine mandate to take away other people's freedoms because this
But
God
why-
commanded them to.
But why do you think the Ten Commandments are morally wrong?
I'm
That's the
telling
question
you
that you're
why.
not.
If you are
Because you think it's slavery
commanded
to
to
God.
honor your mother and your father, that is morally wrong. Do you know why?
So then if you're commanded, to not have sex with a child, do you think that's morally wrong too? Because it's taking away your freedom of having sex with whoever you want.
It's not taking away freedom. You still have the freedom to do it. It's morally wrong because it's morally wrong, not because there's a law for or against it.
But then that's your moral compass. I'm just trying
Yeah,
to wonder why
exactly.
you
So
think that
I'm
your
saying
moral
that trying
compass
to
is the
force
correct
someone,
one.
commanding someone to love someone is not moral. It's evil. Commanding someone to love their mother and father under the threat of being killed if you don't is explicitly
it says
immoral. in my
it says
opinion.
to honor your mother and father, and that's
It's
two
a
completely
command
different things.
to honor
Yes,
your
a
mother and your
command.
father.
Do you know the difference
What if
between
your
to love and to
father?
honor?
What if your father does not deserve to be respected?
Yes.
What if your
respect.
father is molesting, or a father is molesting a child? Do they deserve respect from that child?
No, and the Bible doesn't say
Absolutely not. So why the fuck would you say it's okay for God to command them to respect a parent who doesn't deserve respect? It's not moral, is
I
it?
think we've gone
It can't
5
be.
steps ahead of what I'm trying to say.
I'm not.
To
You asked
honor
me why
your
it wasn't
mother and
moral.
father. Do you know what it means to honor your mother and father?
Yeah, that means you respect them, you care about them, you obey them,
No,
or
that's not
else
what.
you die.
That's not what it means. To honor
That
your
is
mother
what
and
it means.
father. No, it's not. To honor
Yes, it
your
is.
mother and father is to say, yes, this is my mother and my father. That doesn't mean you have to stay in contact with them. That doesn't mean you
That's
have to do
acknowledging
everything that they
them.
say.
What the fuck are you talking about? That is such a lie.
Honoring is acknowledgement. In
No,
in
it's
the
not.
Bible,
That's
it
it would
says
say
it.
acknowledge your mother and your father. That's completely different than saying honor your mother and your father. That was the dumbest thing you've said to this
So
point.
what? So
in this
what do you
conversation.
believe that honoring is? That somebody should do
I
what their
told
mother and
you,
father said?
respecting them,
In the
carrying them,
Bible, it says.
obeying them, just
In
like
the
it says.
Bible, in the Bible itself,
And it says if you
even if
don't,
your
they can
mother,
kill you.
it says if your mother and father forsake you, then if your mother and father are enemies, it speaks about the other perspective. If your mother and father forsake you, or if they are enemies to you, or if they are not children of God and they are not parents in God's rights, then you do not have to honor them in God's right. It says this in the Bible.
Well, then this is just confusing because one verse says to
No,
honor
because
them
that's
and
what
another one
it
says
says.
don't, if this is the case. So which one is it?
No, it says if the same way with a husband and wife, and it says a wife should submit to her husband. If you then read the verses afterwards, it says a wife should submit to her husband as long as the husband submits to her as Jesus submitted to the church, and all of these things. These things come with context. The Ten
Yeah.
Commandments, when it says you should honor your mother and father, that is if they are children of God and they follow in God's right. And they also follow the Ten Commandments. If they then disobey them, they're not children of God to begin
Well,
with.
trying to command me through law to adhere to these ridiculous commandments is not moral, and it never will be. It is affront to freedom
No,
because I
no,
do
no,
not
no,
adhere
no.
to this religious
I'm not
doctrine.
saying, I'm not justifying the law coming in place that children should have to read the Bible in schools and be Christian. I'm not
I
justifying that.
know
What I'm
you're saying
saying is,
that's
what I'm saying
immoral, but
is,
then you're trying to say the laws themselves or whatever these
no,
are moral when they're
I'm
not.
saying that you equating that to the Bible is where the mistake is made. Yes, it's
It's
wrong,
not a
but that
mistake.
doesn't mean it says it in the Bible.
It does say it in the Bible. Everything I'm talking about, I can back up with explicit Bible verses, including slavery.
So where does it say that if you are the president of a country, you should make a law that means that everyone in your country has to be Christian too?
What are you talking about?
That's what you're saying. You're saying that Trump putting into place a law that states that all children must read
I
the
didn't say it
Bible.
was Trump. I said Texas did it.
Oh, sorry,
Christians.
Texas bringing in a law saying that in
Yeah,
schools.
and there's plenty of states
And
where
you believe
religious
that, and
doctrine
okay,
is
and so
implemented into
you
law. It's
believe
not
that
just
that's
that one.
justified. You believe that that's justified by the Bible.
It is.
And where?
Where does it say in the Bible you can't force this onto other people?
What does it say in the Bible that you can?
The Bible says if someone entices you to other gods, you're supposed to kill them.
If you
It
are
says go
Christian.
preach
If you
it.
are
Like Christians
Christian,
can't help
where does it
themselves. It
say
commands you to go out and preach these words.
if
Conformity.
you are
That's what this book
Christian?
demands.
If you are Christian. But where does it
Yeah.
say that everyone
Nobody
must?
but Christians voted to have the Bible read to their kids in school. It was Christians. It's a
Where
democracy.
does,
If enough Christians vote to make all the other people read the Bible, then everybody else has to do it. Democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what to have for dinner.
so I'm confused. You're saying that the Bible is enforcing these things,
Yeah.
and then you're talking about democracy. I'm confused. If the majority of people are Christian, then they will follow the Ten Commandments as it's stated in
If the
Christianity.
majority of people are Christian, then they will vote Christian doctrine into law on all the other people
Then
that
your
are not
problem,
Christian in a country where you
then
have the right to be whatever religion you want to be, and you do not have to adhere to everybody else's
then
religion.
your issue is with the constitutional laws and democracy. It's
It's
not with
with
the Bible.
Christians voting their bullshit into law. That's where my issue is.
Exactly. So what is your problem
Exactly.
with the Bible? That's
That
democracy.
it is against the Constitution of this country. I don't know how many times I have to say it.
Yes,
It's
and that's
illegal.
fine, but
It's
how do we
unlawful to pass a law like that in America.
Yes, and so the then that comes into democracy and the Constitution. Why then are you talking about the Bible as if the Bible is the
Because it's justified by the Bible. That's what they're using to get Christians to do this. Christians adhere to the Bible. So if other Christians say, hey, we should vote this way because the Bible says we can, then a whole bunch of other Christians do it.
But I feel like maybe I'm wording this wrong, so you're not understanding what I'm saying. Maybe I'm wording this a bit wrong, so let me word it differently.
Yeah.
Say I'm Christian and I believe in God, right? And then I've got 5 other people that also believe in God. And then there's one person that doesn't. And we vote that, yeah, we should run this in God's way, right? I'm trying to think of how to say it. Your problem is with democracy and that Christians are the majority.
Listen,
Your
imagine your
problem is
group, you're just,
listen.
hold on. Imagine your group you're talking about. 5 Christians, 1 non-Christian, right? Imagine if y'all already established a rule that nobody can pass anything to do with religion onto the other members of the group. And then the group proceeds to pass members laws about religion onto the other member of the group. Do you not see a problem there?
Yeah, I do. But I want to know
Thank
how
you.
that
You
relates.
finally
But
made the connection.
I want to know where it says in the Bible that you must put that into law.
It says, go out, convert the masses, preach to the nations. This is
Yeah.
exactly what they think they're supposed to be doing according to the Bible. They're supposed to be putting this on to everybody.
It's not the same thing. I feel like
All right.
you're too, yeah. I feel like I'm not going to get through what I'm trying to say.
Well, you're not, because you're not saying things that actually make sense
There's
or
nothing
biblical.
in the
So.
Bible that justifies.
Yes, there is. You're just wrong. You really need to
I haven't
prepare for this
finished.
conversation and then just come back or something, because you're just making yourself look worse at this point. It's not good.
There's nothing in the Bible.
Yes,
that
there is.
just-
You can say that all you want, but it's not true.
There's nothing in the Bible that obstructs justice or obstructs your
My
freedom
ass, there's
to do
not.
what you want. That's fine. You can do what you
Untrue.
want. And as a
Untrue and
Christian,
ridiculously false. So, Kiki, thanks for coming up, but I'm about to have to pull the live into a close.
Okay.
So I appreciate you coming up, and I implore you to actually read the damn book, because everything you said was absolutely false. Boy, oh boy. Good Lord. Damn, I hate I have to go right now, because there's like 9 more people in the queue. Damn it. All right. So I've got to go to work, and I got a really long work day. So, if you're in the queue, throw me a follow, and then like I'll be back on tomorrow, and you can talk to me tomorrow, and then unfollow me again if you want, or just look out for the live or whatever. But I've got to get out of here for the day. So let me see who we can raid up in here. All right, who is live? Oh, Heathen Deacon is live. Let's go raid him. Let's throw him a raid. That'll be fun. So yeah, we'll raid Heathen Deacon. So I'm closing it out for now. Much love to everybody. We will catch y'all on the morrow. Fuck MAGA. Fuck Trump. Fuck slavery. Fuck Christian nationalism and the horse they rode in on, but not really the horse, because it's just an animal and we're not God, so we don't order that horses be hamstring just because the enemy rode them. Anyway, all that good shit. Anyway, fuck them, fuck slavery, all that good stuff. Much love to everybody, though. Happy Pride Month. We still got a few days. Let's show a lot of pride, and let's go raid Heathen Deacon. Y'all check him out. Let's go throw him a raid. He'll appreciate that.